So let's pretend for a moment.
Okay.
And I don't feel like this is too far in the future. Maybe the next 50-ish years. I don't know, but pretend that this is in the future, in a cyberpunk type future.
Okay.
Somebody comes to you, the government, whatever, gives you a ticket, says you can have one thing on your body cybernetically augmented. And as such, it's going to be no maintenance. It's going to be hassle-free, but it's either going to boost or repair or... Oh, great. There goes my damn washing machine. Or you know, whatever. It could be one arm. It could be your heart. It could be your eyes, which is what maybe I'll do. But what would you pick to enhance?
That's an interesting question, because there are a lot of, benefits to several different things. Eyes is an interesting one, but it almost seems like a waste, because it's something that can be easily lived with. Poor eyesight and all that. Now, unless you're blind, and that kind of changes it. But,
yeah, and we're talking like bad, like you're not blind, like blackout blind. But if you are, yeah. But if it's like super bad blind, like you have the worst prescription in the world, then yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. I don't know. I would think that would probably be something internal, just to make the body work better overall.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I did jump immediately to eyesight, only because I'm tired of dealing with glasses and or contacts. Mm-hmm. But I started to think about it. Said, there's things. I mean, I could, if they would let me do it, I could get my arms done, and yeah, I'd be stronger. I could get my legs done. Same thing. If I had a better heart, maybe I physically would last longer. Mm-hmm. More lung capacity, all kind of crap like that. But if neurology was possible, I would love to excuse me, improve. Man, I'm sorry I keep bumping my stuff, audience. I can't work today, apparently. I would augment my mind, and if they were to go, wait, hold up. Okay, what are you augmenting about the mind? You can't just do mind augment. Chris, this is hands down. I would let my eyes get worse if I could do this. I would take mind cybernetics that would augment my mind to where I have a flawless memory. Like, memory always worked. If I see something, I could always remember it. Mm-hmm. If I was told something, I could always recall it. Like an exact photo and audible and whatever genic memory. I'd love that. Think of how fucking intelligent you could be if you could read an entire encyclopedia in a week, and then somebody asks you something out of the J encyclopedia 70 years from now, and you go, oh yeah, it's this. Mm-hmm. I mean, and then extrapolate that.
Yeah.
This is also kind of self-deprecating because I do have a horrible memory and it sucks in life. It really does. But I'll wear glasses forever if I could have a memory that works that well.
Mm-hmm. It's not a bad one.
Yeah. I mean, and this is, it's kind of a personal thing too, man. I don't know where it comes from. Like I've met so many people in life and talked to so many people. I've met various levels of highly intelligent people. I've met not that intelligent people and wish them the better, but it seems that if I had I've always tried to quantify intelligence. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Science Cast. But I've personally tried to quantify what people count as intelligence. And I really have come to the conclusion that there are varying aspects to it, but I really do believe a lot of it accounts to memory itself.
Sure.
I really do. In all aspects of life. I mean, job, work, personal life, entertainment, anything. If you could be told something, excuse me, if you can be told something once at the age of like 23 and never see it again, never come across it again, never have anything to do with it, and then at 46 be asked that question, you go, wait a minute, 42, and they go, yes, that's it. That's incredible. I've met people like that, and I do not have that. However, if Chris was to ask me, hey, what was the name of Magus's or Janice's cat from Chrono Trigger? I go, oh, that's Alphador. And it's crazy how the fuck do I know that? But somebody could like teach me something like in school, and then I can't fucking remember it, down the road. Now, granted, I have played Chrono Trigger about 15 times in my life, but I learned that at an early age. That was some off-key, off-kiltered, random thing that I learned and kept it. So,
I mean, part of it depends on how much you care about that information, If you don't have any use for it, if it means nothing to you in the grand scheme of things, it's a lot harder to remember. Kind of like with learning a skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. That's, the phrase people throw around, and it's absolutely true. You'll learn how to do something,
it is true.
But if you don't use it, you'll forget.
Yep. I am a living example of, there's an uncountable amount of things that I have to know for my job and have to remember. And yeah, I do a good majority of them on a daily / weekly / monthly basis, but there are things that I have been taught or shown at some point in my time, but that was it. So years later, I'm like, give me some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's work life. Again, it's also personal life too. I don't know. I don't know why my memory works the way it is. I don't know what to do to fix it. I've heard that your memory could be thought of as a muscle, and if you work it out like a muscle, you can get better. I've never actually done that. I've never read studies. I think the closest I've came to was somebody at another job got me on this placebo of taking ginkgo biloba. It's supposed to be what we were told was it's supposed to increase / enhance your memory, but I think it more or less keeps memory, and it's more for people that have Alzheimer's, I guess. It really doesn't have anything to do with your memory doesn't get better because of taking this thing.
Sure.
But meh. It is what it is. I don't know why this came to mind today. I was a combination of thinking about memory and also thinking about cybernetics at the same time led me to this. But man, I do think we are not that far away from cybernetic enhancements. If you think about it, we're not there to the level that Cyberpunk is trying to portray. We're not there to the level that Alita Battle Angel was trying to portray, or even like Ghost in the Shell. That's down the road. Sure. That's extremely far, many years down the road. And I do visually like the way that anime and game companies portray that stuff, especially when it looks like it's today, but the shit is there. Like, I like thinking that way. I like the idea of it being like not super crazy futuristic. More like, nah, it's just you're still getting up, slapping your alarm clock off, and then walking to the shower. Yeah. It just so happens there's a fucking robot butler that comes and puts your towel in your bathroom or something, But if you think about it, with people that have lost limbs, or pacemakers, or just anything that's helping people on the medical side, we're kind of already moving that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only going to progress. It's okay. So you can starts out with baby steps with just putting a arm that has a movable elbow to another step of a movable elbow, but can rotate all around, to having pulleys in there to add tension and simulate movement, or simulate moving your arm back and forth, to let's put motors in there, let's put chips in there, let's put software in there. That's where it goes. It's going that way.
Yeah.
If I had the time and inclination, I'd love to research and see how far we're actually progressing. But it won't be too far. I would say, I don't know, I'd like to think in the next 50 years complete robotics will be a thing, but as much as we like to see that in movies and anime and games and all that, I really wonder I think that's going to be, I feel like that's going to be a thing, I think people are really going to take the idea of Terminator and run with it and go, no, we can't have this. Are you fucking crazy? I don't want a fucking robot walking down the street, walking my dogs. They'll fling them around like weapons and kill us all. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, AI is doing some crazy things already, so it's really interesting.
Yep. So let me make one more adjustment here to my mic. Sorry, audience. And hello, everyone, and welcome to the end of time. I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
So I was thinking about this the other day too, Chris, and I did do a bit of research. I never know how long this podcast is going to last, and I never know how big our audience is going to get, and I never know how much of the world's actual eye is going to be on us. But I did do some Google/YouTube searching for end of time, because I had to make a conscious effort last year at some point to actually make this show the end of time cast, because there are a couple YouTube channels for end of time. I believe there is another SoundCloud for end of time, and just putting in end of time in like the videos section of Google will show you some stuff too. So I mean, I knew we weren't the only one, but fortunately we appear to be the only end of time cast. I think I found another end of time podcast, but I think they were just end of time. We'll see if we get sued. I don't know. I guess they could take my old Xbox 360. I mean, I don't really have a lot. Please don't sue us. We have nothing. We're peasants. Anything in the news we want to chit chat about? I had a few things pulled up here and there.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't know if we are in that period of time that's the calm after the storm, or if we're in the eye of the hurricane, so to speak. Because really? E3 finally settling down from that. But then we have a bunch of game releases coming up, the Final Fantasy 14 expansion, Mario Maker 2, and then there's several other things in the near future. A lot of stuff going on. The only real...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say that a lot of buzz right now. I don't know if this is like a typical thing or if it's just because of this E3 and other, maybe potentially other light E3s is a polite way to put it, I guess, is, all right, it's like, it's a week later, it's 3-4 days later or whatever. How hype are you? Because I'll tell you right now, the E3 after God of War, holy shit, I was I was excited for quite some time, at least a good 2 to 3 weeks.
Sure.
But my afterglow of this one is kind of almost non-existent. It pretty much is non-existent. Point of fact, anytime I talk to anybody at work, be it Adam or not, about anything from E3 at all, it funnels right down to Final Fantasy VII Remake, and really that's about it.
I mean, that's the big one for me.
Yeah.
Let me. Well, I hit all the lists. I was gonna say let me take a look real quick, but I don't know. It's hard to really be excited about something that's not immediately coming out. That's why, like Final Fantasy XIV expansion, I'm grinding my ass off to try to be done by Friday. Well, technically Thursday. The early access to it is Friday, but they're going to have a 24-hour maintenance. So realistically, I have until Thursday to get it done. Trying to get caught up on story. I still have 200 quests to go. And that's after doing, 150 plus in the last week, probably 200 at this point, quests in the last week and a half. Been hitting it hard, but that's immediately coming out, and that same day is Mario Maker 2. So I don't know how I'm going to juggle them.
I gotta say, man, something that was interesting that my wife pointed out, I was watching a couple nights ago, and she was playing, and I mean, for those that don't know my setup in my house, we have 2 big screen TVs right beside each other, and usually the one on the left is one that I play on, and if she's not playing on the other TV on the right, I have like a YouTube or something. I always got 2 things going at once, but that's also her TV, so when she does want to play, she plays on that one. So I'm playing my game that we'll get to when my week comes around. And out of the peripheral, I kept seeing, and also my I have wireless headsets, Sony H-Ear they're called. They're really fucking good, but they are extremely noise canceling. To the point of I can switch that button off and on, and like right now I barely hear my own voice. It's crazy. But anyway, she's playing Final Fantasy XIV on the right screen, I'm playing my game on the left, and I keep hearing like dialogue and keep glancing over at her screen and seeing cutscenes, and I have seen most of the cutscenes that she was watching because it's early content, and I know she's seen them too. And I look back at her, and she was on her phone. I was like, oh, okay, she's not skipping the cutscene. She don't care. She just put the controller down and is playing on her phone. And a few minutes later, I looked over, and another cutscene was playing, and I was like, wait a minute. I mean, that's fine for her, but is she? I know she's not keeping people waiting for her not skipping a cutscene. She wouldn't do that. So I asked her, I said, are y'all not skipping the cutscenes? Are y'all like watching all of them? She's like, nope. They've implemented a feature patch or so ago that you cannot skip cutscenes anymore. Now I'm going to throw this out there. I don't know if this is true. Please correct me if this aspect of it is true. But I think if it's somebody that if you have a party of 4 or if you have a full party of 4, 8, whatever, and one person has like the in-game check of they're new, as in the game itself can see that they're new, and they have not seen that cutscene, you can't skip it anymore. Which I
don't know what she was doing, but that's not true in my experience. Because just earlier today, I was in a dungeon for the first time, and this has been routine throughout. There will be there are different times where you... Well, let me start off with what I was saying happened earlier. So we were at a boss, and I ran up and I got my cutscene. Of course, this was a story mission, so I hadn't gotten there yet and seen that cutscene. And so I was watching it, and as I watched it, they actually started the fight, and I got technically locked out of the fight. It let me teleport in after the cutscene, but I was like, wow, they're really jumping the gun. That's the first time that's ever happened. But typically what I see is when I come out of a cutscene and everybody's just kind of standing there waiting for me to be done, because you have the icon next to your name. Yeah. They know you're in a cutscene. there are some dungeons, and this is typically only at the entrance or on the battlefields, I should say. The one I was talking about earlier was a dungeon, so there is a difference. So for a battlefield, it actually puts you in this little fenced-in area. It kind of puts this force field around you, so you can't leave it if someone's still in the cutscene, so that you cannot start the fight without them being present. So it seems like there are different tiers of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there may be. I'm Google fooing real time, trying to look at what I can find too, and it seems there's an article here that clearly says patch 4.2 disables skipping cutscenes, but that was also January 13th or January 31st last year. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. My 14 guru isn't here to back this up. Believe me, if I had something wrong, she'd let me know. But yeah, I mean, my thought period was that's pretty cool. If that's the case, I know on the majority hand that would suck for everyone else, because people want to run shit because they want to get whatever they're in there for, and they don't want to watch a cutscene 70 times. I get that. But it also sucks when you're the new guy and people are hassling you because you're trying to take in the story, but they want to hurry the fuck up. So definitely a balancing issue for any MMORPG. Chris, remind the audience and me as well, World of Warcraft, what's your experience?
I tried the trial, so I wouldn't have to pay for it to try it. I made it like 30 minutes. And I was like, nah, I'll just go play 11.
It'd be interesting to see how World of Warcraft does it, but yeah, that's definitely a point of contention for new and old folks. But I mean, if you're an audience listening to this right now, whether the pro or the con of that, whether you think that's a pro or a con, if you want to be a new person and you don't want people shitting on you, don't worry. When you start new, there's a way that everybody around you knows that you're new. And not only can people basically, unless this has changed, not only can people basically mentor you out of choice, but a lot of people usually do. I mean, you won't get thousands of gil thrown at you like Phantasy Star Online used to do, but it was my experience not only being new but also helping new people out, that there's lots of people that will get you what you need.
Yeah. I've never had anyone try to rush me. I've never had anyone just flat out be a jerk, so to speak. I have had a couple people who are not impatient, so to speak, but they have a little bit of attitude when, after a wipe, and be like, all right, I guess I need to explain what's going on here. It's like, well, okay, say something before we start the fight. When you enter the dungeon, it tells you, hey, you're going to get a bonus because someone here has not done this before. You see that?
Dead giveaway.
Explain. Don't be a dick when something happens and you didn't speak up.
Yeah. Oh man, we could this whole fucking episode could be an MMO episode, I promise you. Because that's one of many. Well, and again, don't want to discourage people that may want to get into the game. I say an issue because I have plowed through 700, 800, 900 instances in my time. That's nothing compared to World of Warcraft, people, trust me. But I've had my fair share of, I was new and I was with, or I was a veteran with veterans, or I was a veteran with veterans and new people. And I'm telling you, I was the first one. Hey, why are y'all starting? It clearly said there's a new guy here. The new guy comes out and goes, nah, I'm just here for an alternate character. Oh, okay, we're all good. Or Yeah, I'm new. Where I don't even know how to set points up because somebody showed me that because I asked last game and they just ran in and we wiped and they kicked me. And it's like, wow, come on, man. Come on. Be nice to people. But this is not the MMORPG episode. Oh, God.
Yeah. I've had one person leave. Just silently not say anything and just leave.
Because you were there and you were new?
No. We wiped once and they left. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. It wasn't even a big deal, you know, it was, I think we won the next time after we got somebody else in or something like that. It wasn't a difficult thing. My girlfriend, though, she actually had someone queue up, and I'll, in a minute, or probably my week, talk about her playing, but she got in a dungeon, and then someone was like, oh, I gotta go. It's like, really? Why queue up if you're immediately going to leave? It prompts you have to click it like 3 times to, you know, you have to accept and then wait and then get in there. It's like, why go that far if you're not going to
Chris,
say?
I'm gonna take that right there and I'm gonna break it off like a freaking Kit Kat. I'm gonna throw that to the side.
Okay.
And I'm gonna talk about something else completely. Okay. But in the same vein, you'd have patience when it comes to D&D. You have patience that I do not have. I was not a Nazi with my raid groups. Do not misunderstand. Do not. That's for you and the audience as well. I didn't rule my raid groups with a fucking iron fist. But one thing that pissed me off, that would aggravate me, when there are other fucking people who are setting their life aside to do this thing, when your ass shows up late for a bullshit excuse, it would drive me up a wall. So, hey, we're raiding tonight, the same night, every fucking Monday night. We're raiding tonight at 7 o'clock. If you want to be online and jump in the group and ask me for a party invite or whatever, 10, 15 minutes early, cool, no problem. But I should be able to fucking see your name online, click that invite button, and you're in so I can get shit going. And I would see people, I'm looking at them in the thing, like standing next to me at, I don't know, the fucking, the market board or whatever.
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, that's cool. All right, but, you know, he's probably getting some weapons or whatever. You know, we got like 6-7 minutes and then disappear. And I'm like, oh man, I hope they didn't get disconnected. And then go to the thing and look at the name. No, they're in a fucking dungeon. And you go, hey, buddy, you know, we're raiding in 6 minutes now. The rest of us are all here. Yeah, man, I'm just going to do this one real quick. I got to get this one thing for whatever fucking reason. Well, you don't really need to get that, but okay, I get it. You want to like a... So, it's been a while since I ran that dungeon, man. How long is it? Oh, it's like 20, 23 minutes, 24 minutes. Okay. I can't. It's okay. If it was me, if it was only me, yeah, man, sure, I get it. Handle your business. But when me and Chris are in a fucking party and we've set aside, there's so much more. There is so much more to raiding than just you show up and do the raid.
Yeah. Chris
has a girlfriend. I have a wife, and there are 8 other people that have lives that they're all that set aside. That's somebody saying, you know, I really could get my grocery shopping done tonight, and that would let me get more time with my daughter tomorrow, and blah, 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 blah. Or, man, I really need to work on my car tonight, but hey, I'm fucking here for the team. I'll go raid for 2 hours, and then I'll go work in my car, in my garage at night, and I'll just go to sleep, and so on and so forth. And some fucking body just meanders through, says, yeah, I'll be there Monday, 7 o'clock, no problem. And then 7:26 rolls around. Yeah, I'll be there a little bit. Just whatever. If it's just me, I'll deal with it. Mm-hmm. But I hate when other people are like, So it's fucking 7:31, man. Are we playing? Are we not playing? I mean, what? All my stuff is put on hold right now, and I can't do anything else. If I go run a dungeon, and he shows up, now I'm asked out. So,
yeah, that's why, like, on our Wednesday game, I asked, way early, we playing tonight? Because I don't want to end up, making plans and then, oh, well, so-and-so's not going to be here, so we're not playing or something.
If I'm running late or gonna be late, I try to let somebody know as early as I can. I was almost gonna let you know today because we were kind of making a decision at work if we wanted to work a little late today and as opposed to the next day or whatever, if we even have to. And we thought about it, and I was about to text you, and we were like, "Nah, we won't." I was like, "I'm on that. I don't play." Try to keep people updated, man. I don't miss. Welcome to the MMO cast.
I don't miss doing dynamics and stuff in 11. That was such a pain trying to coordinate that many people and not being in a leadership role either. So I'm just kind of sitting back watching all the madness go on, and it's like, I'm not taking charge of this group. I'm not taking charge of this group.
But I really want to.
That's happened to me in so many games, even on a smaller scale. Not like Dynamis, which was 18 people, but it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to start coordinating events for our guild because nobody else is, or they're not efficient and they're sucking at what they're doing.
So, kicking that bus driver out and swerving the bus back into news territory.
Okay.
Any news stuff that you wanted to go on with?
Yeah. The one news article I really cared about this week, there was a lot of articles that I only want to discuss because they were just ridiculous stuff going on. But the one that I thought was really pertinent after our discussion last week when it comes to the remake is the fact that there was an interview and I'm pulling up the article now to speak specifically about it, but there was basically an article that said that Square Enix will no longer comment on how many parts or episodes the remake will be because they don't know anymore.
This is curious.
They were like, okay, well, it'd be 3 parts. This is how we're going to divide it. And then once they actually got into it and made this first episode, which we've seen now, coming out in March, they realized the scale of the game and how much work would go into and time and, they're not going to be able to fit this in 3 parts probably. And that was kind of, one of the concerns we were talking about. That's really good to hear. Not good in the sense that, okay, well, we're going to wait 10 years before we have all the parts, to the 7 remake, but good in the sense that they care about it enough to acknowledge this is huge.
Yes. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what divide this causes between people. Right. Or maybe another way to say that, this is going to be interesting to see what the masses are going to say when it comes to this. Because, and I don't remember if I actually brought this up last episode, but me and Adam were talking about this as well. And, admittedly kind of nervous because I as well cannot find a concrete answer from Square saying, look, part 1 is coming out next year, 2020, and it's going to start from the beginning of the game, and go to X point in Final Fantasy VII that I've heard it was going to be Midgar only, so I mean, I'm already seeing in my head the scene from Final Fantasy VII where you're at the outskirts of Midgar and you leave. Okay, so I can imagine cut there.
Yes.
That's not that far into the game at all. And I've also heard that, no, it's going all the way till... God, spoiler warning for Final Fantasy VII. This is something else we'll have to... Yeah. This is... A lot of people are dealing with this right now. Do we have to spoil spoiler warning, Final Fantasy VII. I'll tell you, Chris, I think you should.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, we've played Final Fantasy VII. Yes, Final Fantasy VII is ultra popular. There are still people that have not played it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a large audience of people that just saw this at E3 and went, wow, this is what y'all are excited about? I'm in. And now you're just blurring it out there. Now, if we don't spoiler it, that's not to say they can just pull up a freaking whatever site right now and somebody else is going to spoil it. I'm going to do my due diligence as best as I can, and I think we as the End of Time cast will as well. So yes, just in case, spoiler warning for Final Fantasy VII from here on. Just be looking for the game and be happy about it. But I also heard that the part 1 was going to end at Aerys' death, and I said, okay, well, I mean, so which one is it? You know, where is this part 1 going to quote unquote end? I believe that's the end of disc 1. So I don't know. The divide, the curious divide, where I'm it's going to be interesting to see where people discuss this is, what are people going to say is not worth being in this remake?
Okay.
Because go ahead.
This article that I was referencing, is specifically the quote is, "We know that the first one is set entirely in Midgar, and blah, blah, blah. When we started out, hold on, let me skip to the part. It says, at this point, we decided we were going to focus first game on Midgar and what happens in Midgar. But then it says, unfortunately, we can't say anything more about future games because we don't know ourselves. So they say in there, Midgar. They don't say anything outside of it. They specifically say what happens in Midgar.
Yeah, but that's so crazy to think. And I mean, I'm happy for it because what you need to take away from just the trailers themselves is attention to detail.
Right.
You know, I have faith that they're going to take that from the enemies to the designs of the buildings to the look of the outfits to the music to the visuals and the different areas you're going to be walking through. All that is going to be paid strict attention. So if they're only making Midgar part 1, dude, this is like a fucking 5, 6, 7 part game. Yeah. I mean, it'd have to be, because once you leave Midgar, the world is open. And then the further question comes open. Okay, so is everything going to be in the second part? You just can only access? You're only going to be like scene jumped to, you know, Nibelheim and the Chocobo farm and all this stuff? So, like, how? I have no idea.
I think a logical divide, and I don't know, and going forward is one thing, but going backwards is another, you know, because you can't get back into Midgar for a while. So that's not really an issue with going backwards. You know, outside the gates, that's a logical point to cut it off. And then you just progress. You don't have to worry about going backwards. However, or to expand upon that rather, the next kind of a logical breakpoint would be before you get X vehicle, which lets you progress. So that could be kind of another logical cutoff point. However, once you have the vehicles, you can also go back. I think the biggest hurdle will be actually more towards the end, when we have free reign to go anywhere in the world. You know, how will they manage that? Will it be, all right, I'm going to go to Midgar, please insert disc 1. Because this is a multi-disc game. Now, PC won't be as bad, though. Imagine the file size. That's going to be, how big is a Blu-ray? I don't even know offhand. But Midgar alone is 2 Blu-rays. As we both type. 25 gigs for single layer.
Yeah, anywhere from 15 to 30 gigs. Yeah. and around 50 gigs for a dual. Yeah.
So if Midgar loans 50 gigs, by the time the 7 remake is done, you're gonna have like a terabyte of game.
Well, I'll be clearing some space out, rest assured, if I don't just flat out go buy a 2 terabyte solid drive.
Oh yeah. This is a 7 drive.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so what I was, the point that I'm bringing up is that it's going to be interesting to see what people think they feel doesn't constitute being in this, because the rush is going to be, we're tired of waiting.
Sure.
You know, imagine this game is, imagine Final Fantasy VII is 7 parts. You get to part 4, I feel like people are going to start questioning what the hell gets put in. Again, using Fort Condor as an example. We don't fucking need Fort Condor. Get that out of here. We don't want to do a tower defense game to get 1 materia, and that is going to be interesting. I'll tell you my stance right now, Chris. I don't care if this game is fucking 26 parts. I want everything from that game in here. And I want everything treated with that authenticity and that love and care and attention to detail that we just saw in these trailers. Yeah. That's what I want. Is that a monumental task? As Chris just said from the article, Square already knows this. They know it's a monumental task. And I'm saying, fucking do it. Well, it's going to take... Okay, then it takes years. I mean... have an entire fucking production team. They're just the Final Fantasy VII Remake team of 227 people. I don't care how you do it. Don't kill people to do it. Don't cut corners. Give the whole thing.
Yeah.
Take your time. I'm good. Good Final Fantasy VII stuff, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the moment they decided to go that in depth with the remake, they set themselves up for it.
Yeah.
So it would be very difficult for them to go back now and go, okay, well, Midgar was this, but we're gonna, the rest is gonna be much lower quality. They would have riots on their hands. So
you gotta that I understand. As someone that's in this industry, not as a fucking content creator, but as a player, as the recipient of this industry, with my little bit of knowledge, zero actual inside the industry knowledge, I understand what they're saying. This is a fuck ton of work. You're telling us you want us to remaster every enemy, every weapon, every town, every continent. Yes, I do. It's going to take a long time and a lot of work and a lot of passion and a shit ton of... The dedication shouldn't be that hard. I mean, if you love the game and you're on that team, fucking do it. I understand it's going to be an undertaking, but that's what I want. What I don't want, Chris... I don't want part 1 to come out and it be nothing but Midgar, and from point A to point N of the game, it is immaculate. And then we get part 2 and like a couple of the towns are cut out or they're shortchanged, And then we get to part 3 and almost the entire story is altered because they skipped an entire continent of towns, You know what I mean? Just making other avenues to just get to the end of the game, cutting out this and cutting out that completely. I do not want that at all. That's not what I want. So I'm putting my faith and my hope and my trust in this team, and I'll be there buying the game. I can promise you that. Chris already has the fucking special edition pre-ordered, so you got the money coming your way. You have the love and the support. Just make good on it.
Yeah. So
that's all I'm asking.
Final question for you, and I'll let us move on. What would you think if all the content was in the game, but it, led you from one place to another and didn't let you explore freely?
Well, I would just mentally refer back to where that was in the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, when you do leave Midgar, I want to say the first place you'd go it's not Nibelheim.
Calm.
It's Calm?
Yes.
Calm? Yeah.
That's where you go.
Okay.
And have the end conversation.
Right. But you can't go to the next town. You can't go to Wutai.
Right.
You know, as you leave Midgar. Now, if it's somewhere that I already could not go to, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's somewhere that this originally you could go, but they cut it out, that's what I'm talking about. That's crappy.
Well, say,
I don't want that.
For example, you leave Midgar and either something's different about the world map, which is, it could be a whole conversation in itself, but say there's something different about the world map, so you have to go to Calm. It's surrounded, kind of like Nibelheim is on both sides. You can't go past it. You have to go in and out the other side, right? Say Calm's like that. You have to go in, out the other side, and then you can go to the Chocobo Ranch. In, out the other side, and then you can go across the swamp.
I mean, I wouldn't agree with that choice, but if it follows the progression of where the original game made you go, I would frown at it. I wouldn't shit on it horribly. I would question why they did it that way. I would kind of know why they did it that way. You want to streamline a little bit, but
for the sake of compromise to maintain the quality we're seeing in Midgar.
Yeah. I could live with that. What I can't live with is they have you leave Midgar, they have a 7-minute cutscene where like they're walking and talking and they start talking about the flashback and all that shit that you went through in the Calm Inn just gets told in a cutscene, and then you go, oh look, there's a Chocobo Ranch. That's fuck.
So you're saying skipping Calm entirely?
Yeah, skipping entire areas or completely. Like, when I say completely altering, I don't mean like funneling I could deal with, but Calm has a whole different town name and it is set up differently, and they have a fucking picnic on the street in Calm, and that's where they do the flash. But I don't want that. I'm not saying they would. I'm just giving extreme examples of what I'm not wanting out of this remake. I want it to be a remaster more than a remake,
Right.
Resident Evil, for example, as it's titled, is a remake, but enough of the core there was kept to where people went, okay, I really like this. They didn't ixnay the mansion completely. We're beating this dead horse. I'm gonna move on. Have faith in you, Square. Just please, this first part that comes out is going to tell us a lot. What's going to tell us more, what I want more, is what you're going to tell us about stuff after. I don't want fucking pity stories. Oh, look, guys, we bit off more than we could chew. Fucking take 15 years. I don't care. Am I going to want it? Yes. But am I going to wait? Yes. I mean, this game, Chris, is where Square can call my bluff. And I don't think that I'm alone in saying stuff like that. I know many people have said, hey, take your time. Stop rushing your workers through the game. Stop having nothing but crunch. Stop overworking people to churn out a game in 2 years when you could have taken 5 and made it better quality. This could be the one where Square is saying, okay, fucker, 20 years. What now? Okay, well, 20 years. It's going to suck, but hopefully I'm alive.
But on the flip side, picture this.
I don't think it's going to take 20 years, man. Come on.
Yeah. Picture this. Next year, it comes out. Episode 1 so good. Game of the year, right? We get another one, 3 years. So good. Game of the year. Imagine that quality if they sustained it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right, kicking that guy out the bus. We're just bus driver kicking today. I'm just going to throw this news article title out there because I thought it was funny as hell. Okay. EA CEO still thinking about 7 to 10 years of Anthem. That is the most that I have heard Anthem talked about in weeks. And it's what's so bad is I think Adam told me that they talked about Anthem in E3. Mm-hmm. I don't remember. If they did, I don't fucking remember.
They did.
Oh, man.
It was...
So that's my...
It was kind of a in-between segment type thing. It's like, up next is, The Sims, but we're going to talk about, here with me, for a quick 10-minute chat about Anthem is so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but that was when they talked about, like, oh... well, this is what we're planning, blah, blah, blah. And they're kind of just silently not trying to make it a big deal, not throwing Anthem out there too much. But it's just hey, yes, we're still here working on Anthem. This is kind of what we're doing, And yeah.
Yep.
They didn't. I don't remember there being anything like announced. It was just like, yep, we're going to be releasing another patch, another update, as we have been and will be doing. So just look for that. Some of the changes are coming up soon. Some are pushed back, but we're steadily rolling out updates. So they're still trying. And who knows, maybe one day it'll be another one of those games where had a rough launch, but comes back and it's an amazing game. We've had a lot of those lately, the last couple of years.
It got better.
Mm-hmm.
Close an article out too fast. Elden Ring has no fixed main character, says creator Hideaki Miyazaki. Huh. This is interesting to hear him say that, and I'm glad because that. Go check out some of our previous episodes. I forget the title where I've said my piece about Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice, but that was one of them. I think that while that wasn't the crippling issue with the game, I do think that it didn't serve in the good for me.
So. Is that referencing like in Souls you can customize your character more and all that? Or,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Because in this game, in Sekiro, you had one character, right. And yes, he had a, whether you liked it or not, had a skill tree. So there's one way to sort of customize it, but you had a main character with a main plot line, and that's that character. Whenever you got all their stuff, that's what you got. But classic Souls style games, you just pick somebody and then customize them essentially via abilities and whatnot as you progress through the game. That served that formula better. Again, this is not. I don't think I'm alone in this opinion. There's a lot of people that voice this. Some people like both. There are people that like both camps. Me, I'm of the no. Just give me a silent protagonist that goes through and I can customize them. So this is definitely a step in the right direction for what I want. Again, Miyazaki is his own person. He's his own artist. If Sekiro is what he wanted us to play, I played it. I just did not prefer that over the other ones.
Right.
So I'm never out to tell somebody how to make their game. But that's good that he's either he wanted to change that or he listened to the audience. Either way, it's a step in the right direction. Watch Dogs Legion. Talked a little bit about this at the E3 conference. This game was actually fairly interesting to me. It says that Watch Dogs Legion, this is an article. Sorry, I'm so bad about not quoting all these articles. This is a Games Radar. Watch Dogs Legion has 20 different versions of the script. So you might not get the same cinematic twice. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a game in the past recently that had that sort of idea done. I just can't remember what it was, but this is very interesting. I'm all about you may not have the same playthrough twice. Definitely all into your first playthrough will be severely unique. Mm-hmm. I don't know where I stand with the Watch Dogs stuff, Chris. Like I said, I haven't played the first one or the second one. I've never hated them. I never read anything that made me go against it. I think the first game had like some rough starts for something. Or
no, the issue with the first game was they showed a beautiful, well-made game, but when it came out, it looked nothing like the demo. It was like going from 1080p to 720p. It's like, hey, we showed you this 1080p trailer, but here's your 720p game, type thing. And that just kind of soured everybody, towards the franchise. And I didn't hear anything about 2. So I don't know. I think people were so burned by 1 that people are like, and just completely ignore 2, other than apparently enough people that played it to spawn Legion now.
Yeah. So I'll just say that as an interesting concept. What I saw from E3 did sound interesting, and then this just adds more spice to it. Will I get it? I don't know. I would have to look at the lore and see if I need to play the first 2 to yada yada yada, same old shit. But just thought that article was very interesting.
Yeah, if I have to play the first 2, I'm on the fence of whether or not I'll get Legion, because I probably won't play the first 2. So,
hey man,
I'd have to decide.
2019. You could always pull up the Watch Dogs 1 movie / Watch Dogs 2 movie, and then just watch the game, get caught up on the story.
I understand that's an option. I don't do that though. If I'm not interested in a game enough where I'm not willing to put in time to play it, I probably don't care enough to play the newest one. So,
okay, let me think of a game. I see your point, but if a game is that damn good, but the first 2 were bad, I mean, you really want to shit yourself out of a third game because the first 2 were bad?
I played every Devil May Cry, and some of those were very rough. Did not hold up, but I wanted to play the newest one, so I went through the old ones and suffered through the dated content, the dated mechanics, dated controls, all that looked like ass. Camera was terrible, but I did it because I wanted to have that investment in the story and the characters.
Gotcha. So you're saying if the game that you saw wasn't that interesting, then of course that's kind of common sense though. Yeah, I feel you. Still waiting for your Shin Megami Tensei 2 review. You let me know. I don't want to put that on you because I haven't even went back and played 4, which I've been told was the one to go to.
I still need to finish my Persona 1 playthrough. I started.
Oh wow. I'll let you have that one. Apex Legends 2. This is I'm not going to speak really on this article because I haven't played Apex at all. Unfortunately, I know, shoot me. Apex Legends 2 is never going to be made according to Apex Legends developer. Not the article that interests me, but just the concept of I don't know why. This can't be just where's World of Warcraft 2? Like, they haven't made a sequel to that. It's not like a game has to have a sequel. We live in an age where you can just add the content. You can also just change the entire base of the game and give it a facelift. So,
it doesn't need one. It's a battle royale. You don't need a sequel. You just update it. Just like MMO, you just release an expansion. You don't release a sequel until you're changing drastically, like story, like. All right, well, the entire World of Warcraft story is gone. Here's the story now. You don't want to just delete all that old content. You want to leave it available to play and whatnot. But,
yeah, Madden, we're looking at you. You don't have to make a Madden sequel. You just, add new content. What you should not do is, in 2005, make a Madden in 2006, add 2 features, take away 2 features. Fast forward to 2011, those 2 features we deleted back in the day, we brought them back. And people are so dumb, they don't even know, and they think they got a new game. You money-hungry fucks, you. Yeah, you think we don't know? You're fucking Psycho Madden? Assholes. A wish list for the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. This is somebody, they wrote the list. This is our own personal list. This is from Kotaku. I didn't read it, but I just really quick, if you could think, Chris, quickly, a couple things. What are a couple things you are looking for? Either a change, an addition, a deletion, whatever, in Breath of the Wild 2.
1.
What are you hoping for?
First, fuck off with durability. 2.
Okay.
Whatever. That's my list.
So, you audience, you can go back even further to some episodes where we have our Breath of the Wild discussion. There were several. You can hear all of Chris's thoughts on durability. Mine as well. I think Adam may have been around, but I don't think he played it. For me, I gotta tell you, and this is not hurt at all. This is not I'm not gonna buy the game because of. It's more of I kind of wished this is what I wanted. It sounds so crazy because I know right now I can play this fucking game and go, God, this world is so huge. But I wanted more world. That's what I wanted. I come from a Just Cause 2 level of scale, and that's what I was hoping for with the sequel. The fact that it's set in the same world, the only thing I want from the new world is that world to be expanded. I don't know how they could do it. I think Chris brought up a good idea of, there's some what seemingly underworld-ish areas. So that's a way you could do it. You could totally link to the past, have a fucking area in Hyrule Castle that gets caved in, and then Link and Zelda fall through, and there is a world underneath Hyrule that is equally as expansive as the world itself. That would be impressive. I think it'd be I don't know if I'd care for it. How would you do it? Because is everything under the world? Is it everything dark? I don't know. What I wanted, if it's going to be the same world, is to, when you go all the way north, instead of hitting that wall where it's a million-mile drop down, I wanted that world expanded further. I just wanted the whole entire map expanded by like an extra 50%. I have no way to know if I'm not getting that, because the only world that I saw in that trailer was what looked like something was rising out of the Hyrule Castle or something. And I was trying to look around real quick to see if I saw anything new or extra, and I did not. And that's kind of a hard task to do anyways, because the Breath of the Wild world is huge. So I'm going to play that game. I know I'm going to enjoy it and have a good time. But I will admit, Chris, there is a small part of me that's going, yeah, but it's the same entire world. I've already walked over all this. I mean, that's me. Imagine people that have went and got all the Korok seeds, Chris. They have quite literally touched every square foot of that map. So telling somebody like that you're just gonna see all that over again, you better bring some good shit to the table. Something I do want to see, my flat out, fuck you, get this right. I want to see as far as like dungeons and whatnot go, dude, I'm totally cool with adding more shrines. Go for it. Make it 150. I don't care. But the fucking Guardians, get that shit out of here. I want dungeons. I want 8 to 10 unique, thematically unique dungeons. I want a lava temple and a fire temple and a light temple and a dark temple and a forest temple, a snow temple, a sky temple. I want that. And I don't want it to be 2 to 3 little mundane puzzles and then you fight a piss easy boss. I want what Zelda was known for. I want those dungeons that are multi-layer, multifaceted, multi-puzzle. You need multiple keys. You find the key item. I don't know. I'm kind of okay with pick up 4 items at the beginning of the game and that's all you use. But those dungeons they need to be unique. They need to be special. I want that big time. If that's not there, that's going to be upsetting. Somebody did bring up a point. It has been brought up before that, it's going to be hard to make unique dungeons when you don't have unique items because you're going to get those 4 items at the beginning of the game that hampers your need for a claw shot and a fucking hammer and all that. I said, okay, we'll bring them in. Who's to say you can't have them? Well, it's kind of hard to have all those items in the game because you have a world and you have an environment and those can interact. Okay, you are now thinking for Nintendo. This is their duty. I'm not here to tell Nintendo how to do it, and nor am I trying to profess that I have the ideas and I'm the answer guy. What I'm saying to Nintendo is 8 to 10 dungeons like we had back in the day with the old school Zeldas in this game. That's what I want to see. How they do it, I don't care. If you bring me a lava temple and a forest temple and they're all unique and they're all their own thing and they have their own unique bosses at the end, I probably won't care that I didn't pick up a dual shot arrow or a boomerang. I'm going to care that I'm in this unique place for, a couple hours. This large, expansive, unique dungeon. That's what I want. That's my pure. Because the Guardians, Chris, man, you cannot go through that game spending 200 hours doing everything, and then the shrines and the end of the game total is like 2 hours. That's insane. I blinked and I was done with a Guardian. I blinked and I was done with another Guardian. I beat the game. I was like, well, shit, this was explore the world, the game, So that's my rant. That's my rave. That's all the news articles I have too. Should we roll into weeks?
Sure.
Is it my go?
Yes.
I actually guessed that one, honestly. I did guess. No non-gaming stuff. Haven't been to the movies. Haven't seen any more anime or watched any movies here at the house. So all that's out the way. And got 2 games. 2 games to talk about this week. And This is going to be really short for me as well because I'm trying an experiment with this game. I'm trying to just play through Tales of Destiny and not take notes. And I have now learned, as of recording time, I should have taken notes. Because there are a lot of little instances in Tales of Destiny that I wanted to bring up. I just have forgotten about them. That does not mean that they were bad or they weren't good enough for me to talk about. It's more like they were so random and sporadic, and I just, as I alluded to at the beginning of this episode, I don't have a good memory at all. A random example of one out there, like, that's very unique. I've never seen that before in this game. I'm in a town. I was at somebody's house having a conversation, and I did the usual RPG thing. I went around this person's house just checking out stuff. I have found in Tales of Destiny that not so much on the going into people's houses and checking bookshelves and getting an item, or checking their fridge and getting an item. Haven't really seen that. Point of fact, the game actually tells you, like, he's talking to himself and he says, like, I probably shouldn't go through somebody else's things. I was like, oh, okay, but kind of bravo. I would like to open that shelf and find an item in it, but that's good. I like the way you're doing that. But anyways, I still sometimes go around houses, and I went to what I thought was a picture, because some of the pictures will have some random flavor text to it. And it wasn't a picture. It was actually a window with a person there. I checked the picture, and the person ran off. And the guy said, "Wow, a peeping Tom? What's the world coming to, weirdos?" And I was like, "What? What the hell? I've never seen that I can't think of a time in a game that I've seen it, much less an RPG. Tales of Destiny has little things like that littered all over the place. So yeah, that's what I've been playing in my off time, which has been, I'll tell y'all folks right now, a little personal note of this podcast. I'm going to be fucking tired for the next 5 weeks because I'm going to be working close to, well, no, I will be working 5 weeks straight with maybe 2 days off. So I've been kind of napping more when I get home, and just in general, I've been busy. So I haven't put like hundreds of hours into Tales of Destiny, but I have put a good bit of time into it. And it's, for those that don't know, I'm playing the PlayStation 1 version. I say that because I think it got re-released on the PS3 or the PS4. I can't recall. I am playing the legit original Tales of Destiny. So I'm pretty far into it that I can tell. Chris, remind me for like the 20th time, how far you've ever made it into the original Tales of Destiny?
I believe I beat it. I don't remember it, but I believe I beat it.
Gotcha. And that's fine. Totally fine. So for the audience, let me get my non-spoiler stuff out of the way. So the battle system is pretty cool. Depending on how many people you have in the party, 1, 2, 3, or 4, only 4 people can be on the field. And there is my washing machine going off again. Chris, tell me something you do remember about Tales of Destiny, and please try to make it last 2 minutes. Go.
You'd think he would schedule his laundry around the podcast. But anyway, Tales of Destiny, it was the big thing about it. I don't remember anything story-wise at all. It's been so long since I played it. But the combat has always stuck with me, with that left to right, different than the, top down, or rather left to right, not moving around combat, the static combat, I should say. And it added to what is obviously, I don't remember a whole lot about it, but that was very memorable. So it added a lot to the game itself. And that's been kind of their MO in the Tales of games, having the different types of combat. Because I think later on in the recent ones, it went to more of a arena type format. But the left to right was certainly new back then.
Yeah, I don't have a basis for that one because it was interesting looking at the timeline. I was starting to play Tales of something for the SNES, and I was like, "Oh, this is tied to the Tales franchise. That's interesting." And then I looked at the timeline, and there's, I don't know, 13, 14 games.
Yeah.
Tales of Destiny was the second. So, yeah. I don't know how far they've kept all that throughout the times, but it is cool. It is pretty interesting. I also would have to look at when this come out, when the original, so the original was Tales of Fantasia. You know what? I guess I can do it right now. Let me type in Secret of Mana. Because one of the reasons why, so Mana came out in 93, this came out in 95, okay. But I also had never played Tales of Fantasia back in that time of my life. I mean, if I was to play Fantasia right now, it would be the first time I ever played it. But one of the reasons why I put Secret of Mana so far up my SNES RPG list is because of the action combat. Well, Tales of whatever, mainly Tales of Destiny, since that's the one I'm playing right now and talking about right now, has pretty much action combat. You have your other party members pretty much act autonomously. They do what they want. Of course, the typical RPG fare, you can set, how they act. Do you want them to go all out? Do you want them to conserve MP? Stuff like that. You can go, and you got to forgive me on this one, Chris. I have not figured out what the severe difference between two of these are.
Okay.
But you have your main character they have a manual mode, a semi-automatic mode, and a full auto mode. Now, of course, manual and automatic are simple. Duh. You either let them do their own thing or you control them all yourself. The semi, I don't really know. Maybe you can only control movement. Maybe you can only control abilities. I don't know. Because usually I put it on manual. I just always take my character over. One of the reasons why is I have put them on auto, and these battles can last a bit. I mean, they honestly can. An average fight, I want to say, can take about 1.5 to 2 minutes. I put him on auto, and I swear it's been like 3 to 5 minutes. They do a good job, but I go in there and I'm fucking mashing that button, attacking away. And he'll on auto, he'll run in there, attack and run back and stand there. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Move! So I've predominantly played manual. And yeah, the arena combat, it's still random encounters for the most part. You do have some scenes and instances in the game where you do see enemies on the screen and they can attack you or you can engage them, but predominantly it's random battles. A lot of random battles in this game. This game is not really tested, but gotten to the level of testing my patience of how often you fight them. And unfortunately, there's an item and there's a special ability. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's not a spell. I think it's a special ability that will reduce the amount of times you get into battle, but will not completely eliminate it. Let me hold my hands up here, or that's as far as I've got so far. If there's another item later in the game that completely eliminates random battles, I have not found it yet. Though the reduction does take the headache down a little bit, they're still there. You will still fight random battles with those on. Anyway, you may or may not see enemies on the field. Predominantly random battles. The battle screen themselves, instead of your characters being lined up in the traditional sense, like on the right or on the left, straight up and down, or lined across the bottom of the screen like Phantasy Star, your characters are horizontally laid out on the screen and they can traverse left or right, and the enemies as well are on the screen and they can traverse left or right, and you physically go in and attack them. You have base moves that don't require I believe their SP is what it's called, like your special points, and you have special point abilities that they're more powerful, but they cost. For the most part, the battles are fun. I mean, they're kind of long and tedious, but I'm saying this also from a spoiled 37-year-old playing in the 8th generation of consoles mind frame. I have ways to make battles fast, and battles tend to go faster these days. This is, you fight a random enemy, the screen swirls around. You finally get to the battle screen. The camera pans to the right to show you the enemies, pans back to the left. Mm-hmm. You fight for 1.5 minutes. There's a victory pose. They do their victory pose. The numbers scroll across the screen. The money scrolls across the screen. They are a bit longer. But, I mean, this is what I'm used to. I come from this era. I come from longer battles. I get used to it. Let's see what else. I mean, the battles are pretty cool. The mechanics of the fight system is pretty cool because, I mean, you may have single attacks, yes, but you also have ones that can do combos. You can have items or special abilities that will attack multiple times in a row. So if you chain them correctly, you won't necessarily be able to chain them all in a row, but you can lead one into another. Like, if you know you have an enemy on the ground in front of you and an enemy in the air behind him and an enemy on the ground behind that person, you can use this one ability that has you'll just spin. You're gonna spin forward and then land even further down. So I can hit all three in one go with this. And then once I'm on the ground, I can use this other ability that hits 3 times in a row right in front of me, so I can take that guy out. Yeah, there's a little bit of strategy to it. The story, pretty unique-ish. I mean, there's a lot of bare bones. The enemies are, out there, go get them, or there's something out there you need to go find or go get. So spoiler free, I would recommend this if you dig old school RPGs. I mean, this is on the PlayStation. It wasn't too far back, but the graphics and the music and the battle system, all that. I mean, it's up there for classic RPG folks. I think there's enough there that's unique to at least draw your attention. Also, there's a lot of not puzzle centric, but I would say there are a decent amount of puzzles in almost every castle / dungeon or whatever area you go to. So that's also good to have. So spoiler warning right now. So I'm right after what I'm going to assume was a breaking point in the game. I went through this castle. We've been going across the continents to try to find this person because they hold this giant crystal or orb or whatever. And we finally, continent after continent, boat ride after boat ride, area after area, we finally tracked him down. And he had the item that we were looking for, and then we got into a fight. And this was the first time in this entire game that I died. I died about 5 times in this fight, to the point to where how do I strategically say this? I knew just from the feeling of the game that this was not the end. This was not the end of the game, but the game was almost making it feel like it was, because this last area had some pretty hefty enemies, and this final boss was fucking wrecking my shit. So I went back and did the typical RPG thing. I found some areas with some decently high XP enemies. I did have to leave the castle a couple times and go get shit stocked up, because this is a negative thing of the game, in my opinion. The items stocked, they stop at 12. That another game that has a cap on quantity, and that really aggravates me, because, as I said before, my typical RPG thing is, if I have the money, I'll buy fucking 99 high potions, not just to waste the money, not because I think I'm going to need that, because one fight is going to be so hard, just because I know some grinding is going to have to be done, and I want to have a stock with me to heal, and then I'll use the money that I got from all that grinding to come back and stock up again. It's simple. Unfortunately, in this game, it didn't work that way. Point of fact, the first time that I fought that boss, I had like a half, if not a third, of all my stocks. And I'm talking everything. I was using everything. I used items that restored 60% of my hit points. Then I started using items that restored 30%. Then I started using items that restored 30% and TP, even though I didn't need that. Then I started using items that so on and so forth. Like I used up every single healing aspect. And I died because I could not heal myself anymore. Let me correct that. I died because I could not revive people anymore. I used all my life potions. Like, it got that dire.
Wow.
So I finally leveled up and got all this shit. Yada yada. Did the typical dance, and then I beat the boss. And it didn't even fake me out. It didn't even like show some credits or whatever. It just, the story kept going. So now I'm like, oh man, where is this story going? What's next? What's the answer to this? What's gonna happen? All in all, period, I am enjoying this. It's a good RPG. I'm having a good time with it. The story is good. The dialogue is good. The combat's good. I like the music and the graphics, like all the way around. It's definitely scratching that old school RPG itch. Mm-hmm. The other game I've been playing, so I don't know. I feel like I owe an apology to this game because I don't know what the fuck happened. I remember talking about this game at some point in my podcast. I need to go back and listen to when I talked about it. Yeah. So I've been playing yooka-laylee, and I think what spawned it was I'm going through yet another new YouTube channel, and this was happened to be one of the games they were talking about. And excuse me, I don't know. I mean, I've seen lots of reviews for yooka-laylee, and maybe to their benefit, I don't know. Okay, this is how this is going to work. Maybe to their benefit, they didn't show a whole lot of the game because they didn't want to spoil things for people. That's good. But this guy showed lots of areas and lots of all sorts of things. I have forgotten almost everything he showed me. However, what I did see, Chris, I liked. And I was like, oh shit, there's a lot of more stuff in this game that I'm interested to go see and find out. So I went and started up yooka-laylee all the way from scratch again. And I'm past the point where I was stuck or whatever last time, and I'm progressing through fairly nicely. I've gotten a couple little upgrades. I'm still in the very first area, which, if for perspective, audience, if you've ever played Mario 64, imagine I'm still in the first painting. However, imagine there are, instead of like 6 stars, there's like 20. There's lots of things to do in a given area. So I'm still just palling around this first area and finding new things to do and new objectives to meet and all that stuff. Games like this are always up my alley. They always have been. We're talking Jak and Daxter, Mario 64, 3D, hell, okay, even Donkey Kong 64. But the people don't like for some reason. It was a giant collectathon. Banjo-Kazooie, a game that this game pretty much mimics. I mean, I love stuff like that. I love 3D platforming with a lot of collecting involved. I like when you find somebody and they say, hey, there's like 16 of these things scattered around. Go find them. I'm like, fuck yeah, here I go. So I'm hoping that there is a lot to this game. I'm hoping that because again, I honestly I've forgotten whatever the fuck he showed me drew my interest in, and I went back and started up again. So if there's like only 3 levels in this game, well, that might be pretty bad. But I'm hoping there's a lot more levels. Go ahead.
Isn't this the game you refunded on
Steam? I don't know if I don't believe I did.
What
because
game? Okay, maybe I'm getting confused.
And it may be. Audience, please go back and find out for us, because I'm not going to fucking do it. But I didn't see... No, Chris, this is... just remembered. This game I bought, fast forward like a week or two, a month, whatever. I played it and went, but I could not refund it because it was too late. That's what it was.
Okay.
And I honestly don't have the time right now to go back and fish through all of our episodes to figure out what was my hang up. This is what I know right now, and right now is all that matters to me. I have been playing through it and I am enjoying it. I will say the camera is a little touchy. It's a little hard every now and again, but it's fine. It's workable. It's totally dealable. I'm fine with it. All the quirkiness of this game, the sounds, the music, the talking of little minor voices that the characters do, the collectathon in general, the platforming itself, like I'm enjoying it. Now, this is another point in my time where I'm playing multiple games at once, so I'm not, I don't know when I'm going to beat either one of these games, and I'm not technically working on both of them at any given time. It's just a matter of how I feel when I come home from work or what I have time for. But yeah, I don't know why I bounced off it before. I can't recall why I put it to the side or what I didn't like about it. But I do remember only being so far into it and going, I'm done. I know that I have passed that point now. And yeah, I'm ready to see what the rest of this game has to offer me. The other good thing is, wasn't there a yooka-laylee announcement at E3 this year, Chris?
I believe so, yeah.
There was something as I furiously swap tabs over E3 2019 yooka-laylee. It was, I don't think it was DLC. The new yooka-laylee game has a Donkey Kong Country vibe. New yooka-laylee and the Impossible Layer. Yep. Okay. Awesome. So whenever I do beat this game, I'll have this one to look forward to down the road. This is definitely up my alley.
I'd be curious.
Final thing, Chris. Go ahead.
I'd be curious to go back and find where we talked about before and to see what you complained about and bring it up and have you argue with yourself.
Yeah. I feel like I want to say it was a control issue.
Okay.
I think there was like a point where I was trying to jump somewhere or do something and the controls just weren't correctly responsive the way that I want it to be, or they weren't responsive in the way that I've known other 3D platformers to be. I feel like that was something like that. I swear there was something else, like a controller issue or something. Either way, yeah, sorry yooka-laylee. I don't know. I legitimately feel bad for old me, but new me loves you. I'm playing you.
At least you realize it though, and you're now playing it.
Yeah. If only I could say the same thing about Xenogears. Fuck Xenogears. That's a shitty game. The last thing. This is not what I did in my week. It's just what I'm gonna try my best to do this coming up week. Okay. And it's something I forgot to mention in the news section. SGDQ starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I am excited. I looked over the list again today during my lunch break and was like, just like back in the day when we did it, I was like, yep, can't wait to see that, can't wait to see that, can't wait to see that. I am not at a station in my life or at a point in my life where I can take off an entire week and watch it, so that's not going to be happening. This is going to be another one of those times where I'm going to have to save what I can to my own personal YouTube backlog and just watch them as they roll through. So while Chris may be able to talk about the entirety of SGDQ next episode, I will maybe be able to talk about 5 sessions. So just bear with us, audience. We'll see how that watch and review goes.
Yeah.
That
it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. So if it isn't obvious, the only game I played in last week was Final Fantasy XIV. But before I talk about it, I do want to go back and talk about last week's stuff a bit more, because I glossed over a lot of stuff because I knew we would be going along for E3. So I want to go back and make sure I give some proper love to the games I played.
Okay.
So Mario plus Rabbids. I don't know. Let me check my notes real quick. Did I even talk about the Yeah, okay. I did start the DLC the previous episode. Okay. So the Donkey Kong Adventure DLC was a lot of fun. I really liked, and I talked about this last time, or 2 episodes ago, I should say, where the characters play completely different. There are, new mechanics in combat, etc. It made it feel worth going through. It wasn't like, oh, well, here's a few more levels of what you've been doing for the last 20 hours or however long it took me to do it. 26 hours for the main story and stuff. Here's, 5 more hours of the same thing. This was, here's your same broad mechanics, but here's what we're giving you for the DLC. Here's what's new. And it was good. It was enjoyable. It wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be, but it was still 7.5 hours worth of content for me, and that was doing the missions and then all the challenges afterwards, which weren't near as hard as the first one. Actually, hold on, let me think. My notes are confusing me. Okay, so 7.5 hours for the game itself, the story part, and then it took me another 2 hours to go through the 12 challenges. So the DLC entirely took me 9.5 hours.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, it was worth it for me. I enjoyed it. So, good on them there. I was really hoping they were going to announce a sequel to it at E3. You know, there's a talk, is there going to be something else Rabbids related? They could totally do a Mario plus Rabbids sequel. It would be great. I'd play the hell out of it. So after beating the DLC, I went back and finally finished the last 2 Ultimate Challenges. It was rough, and man, I don't even know how long it took me. I didn't even write down how long it was, but I know it took me hours to get through them. I think it was 2 hours for one of them alone. And that was maybe not including every attempt. That might have been where I tried it between doing a couple things and then went back to it because I was just, beating my head against the wall. I wasn't progressing. So I was like, all right, well, let's take a break and come back to it. And I went back to it after doing the DLC and finally beat it. So the only thing I didn't do, I 100% the DLC completely, all chests, everything. The base game, I'm at like 95% because I'm not collecting all the chests because they're worthless items. There's some sort of parade going on in town right now on 14. It was just, my screen was just filled with people all of a sudden. Sorry. Yeah, so Mario plus Rabbids, great. I'm really sad though that it's over. It's one of those games where it's like, but I want to play more.
Yeah.
Can I have more, please? All right.
Just play through it again. Come on, man.
It wouldn't be the same. It was bad enough going through and having to find all the chests in the DLC that I skipped because there were items in those that were important. But I was like, man, I missed so much because going through it the first time and then going through getting the chest, that's kind of my second time through without having to do all the fights as well. Because when you're focused on the fights, you try to explore, but then you'll get in a fight and then you'll forget to go check something, or you'll go through something and it'll lead you out and you forget, oh, there's a branching path back there. So I did kind of run through it again, just without doing the fights. Anyway, moving on from Mario plus Rabbids. I don't know how much I talked about this last week, if at all. I think I just mentioned it started, but Destiny 2, the new season of Opulence, started week before last week. I don't even remember. The last couple of weeks with E3 and everything have just kind of blurred all together. So, so I did put in a few hours to do the quest they had put in to where it would get you to 670, something like that. I don't remember what the exact number is, but they put in, their usual method of getting you partly caught up to where you can at least be competitive. As long as you're going to play, you can kind of keep up at that point if you're doing your weeklies and whatnot. So I did that, got partially caught up. I also went back and actually started doing some of the content I'd missed because of all the how I kind of tapered off with playing. I missed a lot, and I really, really want to go back and get caught up, especially with all the things that are coming. So that'll probably be my project after 14 is caught up and expansion's over. I'll be jumping back into Destiny 2 hard. This week, I also played Destiny 2. I said I only played 14, but I did play Destiny 2 one day because the my PC was updating, and I was like, okay, I'll just go ahead and update it. And when it came time to, start playing the game, I was like, well, that's my PC I play 14 on, so I can't play 14. So I loaded up the Xbox. I was like, okay, I'll play some Destiny. And then it needed an update. I was like, go figure. But thankfully, the Xbox updates don't typically take too long, so I was able to get in and get at least some time on Destiny 2. I think that was Monday, so that was before D&D, so I was a little bit shorter session than normal playing. I don't even remember what, might have been Wednesday actually. But I jumped in this week. Huh? Yeah, I jumped in this week though because I got the email that they usually send out for Iron Banner, and of course, got to hop in and play some Iron Banner. I did that, completed all the bounties except for one, of course. But then there's also a quest line associated this time that will actually give you more gear and stuff. So that's a neat addition. This is the first time they've done that this way anyway. So I got to find some time to play some Destiny 2 before Tuesday's reset so I can finish those off, or try to anyway. I don't know how many there are. I haven't looked it up or anything, but I'm on one that, get kills with abilities, which is super and whatnot, and that's the same bounty I have left to finish. That's always the last one that's done because grenade kills suck with my hunter, and then my super, I don't have the one super, the flame knife one, so that's unfortunate. But I do have the Void Walker go invisible super, and that's the only way I get a ton of kills. I'll be invisible, sneak up, because you can actually see enemies through walls and stuff too in it. So I'll figure out, all right, where are the most enemies, and I'll sneak up to them, and I'll just spam the button and slice into them. Kill as many as I can before they murder me, or I murder them all and run off, giggling. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's I love Iron Banner, but it sucks being behind, because even a week behind. Maybe 2 weeks at that point. I think it was 2 weeks from the season, but a week from the raid. So people were already higher. And I think the cap is 750, and I just hit like 690. And of course, Iron Banner levels matter. So yeah, it was rough. I'll just leave it at that. It's rough. Let's see. I talked about Path of Exile last week. I really wish I had the time to play Path of Exile more, but it's just like, all right, I've got MMO, and then what's essentially, a Diablo type game where you can play forever. So those are all three massive time sinks. I can't play all three. I need to focus on one at a time. So right now that's 14. But Path of Exile, I really enjoy playing it, and I look forward to having the time to play it more. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I've been playing so much 14, I haven't even really touched Arena. I did log in before E3. There was the Pauper event. I think I talked about that. You can only play with commons. Super fun thing. Much better than the one I was complaining about before that. I hopped on, and it was Singleton, I think, where you have one card. No, it was a different mode. I don't even remember the details, but it wasn't Singleton yet, or it had already been Singleton and I missed it. Don't know, but I played like 2 games. Don't remember anything, and that was it. They have, I probably should mention this in the news, they actually do have another expansion coming out. It's M20, which is their main, basically the main set for 2020, hence the 20 in it. Last year was M19. It's just kind of how they designate the main set for the year. M20 is coming out, so I went ahead and I pre-ordered that. Go ahead and throw some support over there to the Arena folks who work so hard on that. Even if I don't currently have the time to play it, I still appreciate all their hard work, and I want to, support them.
Yeah, good shout out, man.
Okay, I think that's it, except for 14. So, today, I finished the Heaven's Ward story quest, base quest, not the in-between, patch quest. The War of the Dragonsong War quest is ones I'm working on now. So, man, where to start? So funny, my notes for last week, because I hadn't played a whole lot at that point, my only note that I wrote down was glamour, and in parentheses I put Subligar. I hate Subligars. Yeah. This has started since 11, because there were a couple major items that were really good that were Subligars in 11, and I refused to use them because I cannot stand how they look. And I got one in 14, and I equipped it before realizing what it was, and immediately unequipped it. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to use the underleveled gear because I refused to wear a Subligar. And then I unlocked Glamours. I said, okay. I equipped it, or actually before I equipped it, I put the Glamour on it for the gear I was using, the underleveled one. So it looked like I was wearing the lower level gear. And then I was like, all right, now I can equip it. I don't have to look at that gear on my character. Great. I still need to figure out.
I love glamoring.
Yeah, I still need to figure out the glamour plate system. I haven't gotten into that yet. I haven't had the time because I've been so focused on questing. But I do want to set up one for my ninja because, at the end of Heaven's Ward, or before I finished it, I went and did my level 60 job quest for ninja. So I got the, level 60 set of ninja gear. So I actually look like a ninja now. But it was horrible being in the cutscenes, these epic, emotional, awesome cutscenes, and looking at my character and going, oh my god. At one point, I looked like I belonged in Hogwarts with this robe cloak thing I had on. I was like, I'm not a ninja, I'm a wizard, apparently. Anyway, that aside, the story. The base game is okay. As it got towards the end.
Start the party!
All right, very well.
All right, we will start the party then, Dante. Thank you. Fucking love Devil May Cry 3.
Anyway, but yeah, towards the end of the story, it started getting more involved. I also had the issue where I didn't remember what was going on at first. So I kind of had to get the context clues from things that were happening. Be like, oh yeah, I did deal with all those primals. Right. So moving on. Okay, made more sense. But it got very repetitive, it felt. I was like, all right, what's the next threat we're going to take out? Because there's a set kind of pattern to it. Here's some filler, boss, kind of going along. Which made sense in story, but is very predictable as well. So it didn't have that same feel to it, if you will. The quests after that, going into Heaven's Ward, were interesting as well. But then I'm trying to think of the timeline when things happened. Heaven's Ward in particular, though, has been very, very interesting, and got to the point where these are, at that point you're starting to get, if not already, invested in some of these characters, and I think in between base game and Heaven's Ward, those quests as well had this, where you start getting more invested in characters, things happen to characters, and you have that emotional response to it one way or another, and then in Heaven's Ward, they stepped it up even more. There are a couple very rough scenes, if you will. and unexpected. I noticed at a particular scene earlier in the story where I was like, wait, there's no blood. And I was like, have I seen blood in the game? I was like, oh, I guess I haven't. Okay, that's just, a design decision. Okay, sure. And then there's a cutscene later on where there is blood. And that added to the visceralness of this cutscene and just made it, all the more emotional. So I was like, okay, they've gone back on that. We've now seen blood. So, okay, now I'm mentally prepared to potentially have this happen in the future. Yeah, it's such a good story, too. Once you get past that initial kind of repetitiveness and get into the expanding outside the base areas, it gets more interesting. And it's easily, moving up the ranks of Final Fantasy stories. Which is always interesting for an MMO because like 11, I wouldn't really do that with it. The last couple expansions for 11 kind of got to that point where I was like, oh wait, that was actually a good story. It wasn't like, all right, well, I'm done with that. Let's move on. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a little invested in this. I'm curious and whatnot. But 14 has surpassed that. Pretty much from the start with this story, at least what I've been playing in the last couple of weeks. Let's see. I've been spending a lot of time crafting. So basically my routine is I'll craft during the day while I'm working or whatever. I'll set it up. I have my macro set up, So I'll craft some stuff while I'm working, and then afternoons I'll stream and play through story quests. So I've been doing a lot of crafting. I have everything except leatherworking and alchemy to 30 for crafting. So I'm gradually getting up alchemy. Leatherworking sucks to level. Because everything else you can kind of buy or farm. Like I have Miner 51. I had Miner 50 before I had Ninja 50. It's just typically how I do. I craft and gather and stuff more than playing the main combat jobs. I did the same thing in Final Fantasy 11. I had level 99 cooking before I had a 75 job. Wow. But yeah, going back to what I was saying. So I got miners, so I can, blacksmith, armor, goldsmith, piece of cake. Botanist 28 was enough for cooking to 30, and buying all the ingredients is a joke. Though that's a little, actually fishing was what helped that a lot, because you just cook every fish you catch, so that was real easy to spam up. But leather, it's like, okay, the first one, I can buy it from the NPC. Second one, I'm like, okay, well, I'd have to go out and kill enemies to farm it, and that's not appealing. So I'm like, okay, well, let me check the market board. Oh, those prices aren't appealing either.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
I actually broke down and bought some material. So my leatherworking's up to 23 now. And I think I still have some of the materials I bought. I just ran out of the other ingredient you need, so I need to go mine that. But I was like, all right, let me just work on alchemy instead. Because I can, do like ink and some of the other stuff, oils that you're going to use later on. So I can just go ahead and craft those. And yeah, I do really like the crafting system in 14. It's nice to have that level of control over what you're doing, what you're trying to make. And I like that you get a bonus to experience no matter what your quality was. Even if you don't HQ it, you still get a bonus to experience. So your effort isn't wasted, because like I'm spamming Iron Ink right now. I don't really care if I HQ it or not, but the more quality I get, the more experience I get. So the less I'll have to make in the long run. So I'm all about that system. there is a little bit of RNG to it when it comes to quality, good, poor, etc. when for the status of the item, whatever that's called, the condition is what I'm referring to. And that kind of drives what you're doing, but at the same time, like, I'm macro crafting. I don't care what the condition is. I'm going to hit the same set of commands every time because I know that will give me a result. I will complete the item no matter what. It's literally impossible for me to fail. Now, I won't HQ as frequently as if I manually did it, which is also an option. I could just manually do every single craft and, push that HQ as high as possible. Especially now that I've gotten everything else so high, I have all these abilities I can use. So, I haven't even talked about that. You gain abilities from other classes and jobs, other disciples. So, I'm on alchemy, but I'm using skills from, I want to say, goldsmithing, cooking, carpentry. All of these are going into my alchemy. So I'm being rewarded for doing multiple crafts at once. Which is nice as opposed to like 11 where you can take one craft to 100, but then the rest have to stop at 80. You did benefit some from having the other ones because some crafts would take more than one skill to make. But you're still limited. You couldn't raise everything to max. Which it's a little disappointing that desynthesis has a cap to it. I don't know if that's still in, but it was. I say I don't know if it's still in because when I looked it up, when I was trying to figure out how to do desynthesis, because silly me didn't just open the menu and look for desynthesis in the actions, or I overlooked it if I did. But I saw that there was a cap, but the screen that I saw where it showed, okay, here's your progress at each, and here's your cap, you're at X out of max or something like that was on it. I can't find that screen. I have no idea because now the bars are underneath the crafts, the disciples experience bar. So it's like, oh, okay, is that not in there anymore? I don't know. I'll find out eventually. There are so many things in the game I haven't even touched because I'm just so focused on story. I don't have the time, Yeah. Sure, I would love to go look into gardening and, the glamorous stuff and the golden saucer, which is amazing. I spent a little bit of time there one day, just shortly after I came back before I realized how many quests I had to do. I just spent a little bit of time there looking around. But I'd love to be able to go in and do all that more frequently. But yeah, I'm on a bit of a time crunch, so I'm pushing through quests. Let's see. Anything else? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's it for 14.
Well, then let me ask.
Okay.
Pertinent question to ask.
Okay.
And I think I asked this last episode too. Just want to reiterate. So you're essentially trying to plow through all of everything in order to be caught up to the expansion when it releases a few days from now.
Friday, yep.
Have you felt that this rush, have you felt a loss? Have you felt like you're missing stuff? Have you felt like there's content that's just blowing past you or like it's irrelevant and or how do you feel about the story content? And this is in addition to all the gushing you've already did, but have you felt at any point that, okay, well, maybe I need to slow down because this is too much too fucking fast, or are you just keeping up with it?
No, I am watching every cutscene. I'm reading all of the main story quest dialogue. There is some, and I say main story quest because there's like kind of little offshoots, basically filler type thing. Oh, go talk to this person and we're going to leave. Okay, well, I'll skim through what they say. for the pertinent stuff. And I'll leave up my event chat log to where while I'm running to the next place, I can go back and read to make sure I didn't miss something. So I'm making sure I know what's going on at all times in cutscenes and dialogue for the main story quest, which is one of the reasons it's taking me so long, because I'm not skipping anything. I also had the time where I hit the level requirements, which I hate, but because Ninja wasn't my first job, I have Paladin 30, I have I got Pugilist to 15, Conjurer to 15, stuff like that, Archer at 16. So I have all these other jobs I put experience into with story and stuff, so I'm a little bit behind the experience curve, if you will, or I was up until recently. So I've had time while going back and doing all that to also get some of these side quests done in the areas, figure out what's going on lore-wise, event-wise with them. Because there are things that don't unlock in a zone until after you've, gotten through there, completed the story part, and then it unlocks more side stuff, which is interesting. But so I don't feel like I've missed out on anything. The biggest issue with rushing through has been the ability to remember stuff, and remember small details, I should say, because I remember overarching, okay, so this has happened, this has happened, this has happened. Okay. But in between here, I don't remember what I did between these 2 points, It wasn't a major thing, but I don't think I'm missing anything. But I also have 201 quests or so to go, so.
Yeah. That was it. That was my question.
Okay. And I think with that is the end of my week.
All right. Well, kicking that guy out of the bus driver's seat, moving into...
Wait, why was that guy driving?
I don't know. No, nobody asked him to. Took it upon himself. That rat bastard. All right. So on to the topic of this week's episode, which I'm now realizing I need to pull up on my Explorer, because I don't have it pulled up. This is the I wouldn't say long overdue, maybe highly anticipated by somebody, I hope. End of Time Cast Game of the Year for 1997. So
yep.
On each, you can go back a few episodes, check out our year in review 1997, and you're pretty much going to get a fairly decent list of what will possibly be on this list as our nominees for and whatever we choose for the game of the year. So the way this works, folks, we've been doing this since the year 1980-ish, I believe. And usually it's been 2 episodes, one right after the other, in succession anyway. So the End of Time Cast will go through the entire year of gaming. We've tried to do a bit better job now of doing just including general gaming news as well, like consoles that may have gotten released, or magazines that have been discontinued, or accessories that were hot to do, or whatever. But the main gist of the year in review is us going through and cherry picking what we individually consider to be games that should be talked about that year, and then talking about them either a little bit or at length. It could be that we played them. It could be that we just flat out know that they're a big deal. It could be that they were a hot garbage mess and deserve to be talked about. In any event, we review the entire year and games, especially specifically individual video games, and pick what we decide to talk about or what we think should be discussed or made a mark that year. The End of Time Cast Game of the Year works a little bit different. This is a vote between Chris and I together. We pick some nominees ahead of time, and we try to debate and discuss between us what we think is our together combined decision for the game of the year for that year. and this one will be for 1997. This is clearly subjective between Chris and I. It's ones that we decide are game of the year. This is not bumped up against like Games Radar or Nintendo Power or anything. So whatever source you have that says that it's the game of the year for you, that's fine. That's cool. Whatever game you personally pick for game of the year, hey, that's cool too. This is what we pick between ourselves. So we've got a list already going, and unfortunately, audience, you can't see it. But the way that this works is we're gonna pick a random game from our nominees, which I'll go ahead and do right now, and then we'll discuss it. Let me move my mouse around in a haphazard motion. It landed on Final Fantasy VII. Okay, sure. So I'm going to take Final Fantasy VII and put that onto the list, which again, audience, you can't see, but that's fine. And now we're going to take these nominees and we're going to bump them against that game. So we'll decide between us whether we think it's better or worse than the games that are on the list. And through this, we will eventually come out to what we decide and determine is the game of the year for that year. So yeah, here we go. Starting right off the bat with Final Fantasy VII. Came out in 1997. And again, a lot of this, unfortunately, audience, or maybe fortunately, if you like to hear us talk a lot about these games, a lot of this is going to be kind of a rehash because, again, we've already discussed these games at length in our Game of the Year, our year in review. But, I mean, we're now pitting them against each other. So, a little bit of rehash may be necessary. Oh yeah, so Final Fantasy VII, man, so many accolades with this game. I mean, look at the current news. This game is getting a remake, and it is driving people insane, us included, through anticipation and hype. And I mean, even me, I said even back in the day, I was excited for it. I hope good things for it, but there was always that little tinge of this game is so good that if they fuck it up, I'm going to be so upset. And then I saw the first couple trailers and went, I'm good. I'm so fucking good. They are doing such a good job. But that's a remake. That's not what this is about. It's just to emphasize that this game is a big deal. To further emphasize that, I think it's not that hard to say. I'm sure somebody can compile some facts to maybe prove us wrong with something else, but arguably, if not the most popular RPG of all time, definitely a tower RPG that pushed RPGs itself further up into the limelight. And that says a lot about a game. Chris, some fond memories, some selling of Final Fantasy VII.
So 7 was interesting and stood out in a few ways. First we had the graphics. 7 was a pioneer in this kind of 3D, which didn't look great a lot of times, but then it had some awesome looking cutscenes.
They did what they could with what they had, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But it worked is the, important part there. It was very easy to look past back then because we didn't really have, modern games to compare it to. And this is kind of the perspective we take with this Game of the Year discussion is, sure, we'll talk about a legacy and whatnot, but also kind of from the perspective of 1997. We're not comparing it to the remake or, Final Fantasy 15. We're going to compare it to things that were already out or came out shortly after, kind of in the same time span to be fair.
Because this is the Game of the Year of 1997, not how does this game stack up to whatever in 2007. It's not the point.
So, let's see. The materia system gave you a level of customization that also probably I don't know of anything that compared back then to it. Quite in depth. It gave you a lot of customization, a lot of possibilities. You want to infinitely cast Knights of the Round or cast it 64 times or whatever it was, sure, go for it. You want to auto revive when you die? Sure, you can do that. You want to add elements to your attack? You can do that. Make yourself take less damage from elements, etc. You had all these different things, all of these utility materia, throwing items, throwing money, enemy skill materia, where you actually had to go out and find them, which kind of is... I don't know when Blue Mage first came about. 11's the first instance I know of. I know it's in something prior, but I don't think I really played that one. But going out and actually learning attacks from your enemies and then using it against other enemies is cool. And all this was part of this materia system, which is why one of the reasons, for the remake we've been talking about, it's got to be there. We need materia.
Yep.
It's a core mechanic of the game.
And we physically saw it in the weapons. Ugh.
Yes.
Sorry, this is not remake, but
it's going to happen.
Hard not to be happy.
Yeah, it's going to happen. As much as we try to avoid it, it's inevitable. The story does have some issues, so to speak, to a lot of people. I personally, and maybe this was my ignorance back then, I didn't really see a problem. I thought things made sense. Now, there are some things I missed out on. I'll freely admit that I didn't learn until later, and go, oh, yeah, I guess that made sense, huh? I didn't quite realize that, but it didn't take away from the story. It was just adding on to what I already knew, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, now that makes a little bit more sense. But I never went, oh, well, what? Here's this big plot hole. What happened here? So I don't know. I feel like a lot of complaints like that are kind of looking for something wrong with the game. Because a lot of people don't want to give 7 the love it deserves. But to each their own. You don't like 7? You're wrong, and I feel bad for you, but you have to live with yourself. I'm fine.
I'll jump on that bandwagon. Okay. You've heard it here from the End of Time cast. I mean, this RPG is great on many levels. And while it's easy today, and it will be progressively easier as time goes on, in 2019, to look at a 1997 PlayStation 1 RPG spread across 3 discs and go, oh man, that's so old and dated. I'm sorry. This was in our time frame. This was in for us, and I have played it within the past couple years, and I believe Chris, you have too. Very recently, actually. I ran it. Yeah. So it held up for me. It held up for him, and that's just another selling point of the game. Not a selling point for Game of the Year, because that's not it's not the point. The point of it is in the year. But everything Chris said, yes, I agree as well. There's such a feel to this game. There's such a draw to it. It has its own life. It tells its own story in its own way, and it is engaging. It will draw you in. And if you were to go play, say, Final Fantasy VI and Final Fantasy VII back to back, no matter what order you played it, you do get the old magic airship feel from, I mean, there's airships in 7 too, but you get a different feel from 6 than you do from 7. 7's more futuristic. There's cars and trucks. They have their own feel about them. How many feels can I say? I don't know, a ton. But the point is that they're engaging and they're unique. Final Fantasy VII is definitely unique, and I had fun. I've had fun every time I played it, and that's also a key to this game up in the Game of the Year. So not a lot else more to say. I mean, again, we've gushed about Final Fantasy VII across several episodes. Yeah. And being that this is like the 96th episode by now, I'm sure you can find some times where we talked about 7 prior. Yeah, so
I will throw on real quick, because you just mentioned replayability. Final Fantasy VII is one of the only games I will go back and replay. I don't typically replay games, so
yeah.
I'll throw that out there.
All right, so Chris, you take the next one, man. Pick a game and let's throw it on the board and see where we go.
All right. Let's
We need a way to incorporate Roll20 into this so we can start rolling dice for
yeah.
Because I like the randomness.
Let's see. Let's do we want to go different or similar? Because we have some.
I'm going to.
You know what?
Roll
Let me throw on a what's probably going to be a fairly easy one. When I threw on here, Oddworld: Abe's Odyssey.
Okay. All right. So again, for the audience from here on out, now that we have a base game, we're going to be adding games to this, and then we're just going to discuss them and then decide whether we think that the next game is better or worse than the other games on the list. So right now, it's Final Fantasy VII versus Oddworld: Abe's Odyssey. Well, Final Fantasy VII wins, duh, but it's definitely justified to talk about Abe's Odyssey. Game came out of nowhere for me. I think it came out of nowhere for a lot of people. And so we just got through talking about Final Fantasy VII being unique. The whole entire Oddworld franchise seems to make it a point to make their games unique, from the actual gameplay itself to the characters involved to the lore, the NPCs, the enemies you face, everything. I mean, it's in the name, Oddworld. They specifically chose that, I would think, for that reason.
Yeah.
So, a lot of great qualities about this game. The gameplay itself is the forefront for me and for everybody else. It's hard to ignore the graphics because they are sprite-based, but like a 3D sprite-ish. Kind of rotoscoped, I guess you could think of it that way, but I don't want to say that they are rotoscoped. Just very well animated. Again, this is on the PlayStation 1. We're not talking about the remake that came out this year or last year. Even on a PlayStation 1.
2015.
Yeah.
I looked it up earlier, actually.
Yeah. For the tone that they're trying to set, for the world they're trying to build in Oddworld, oh yeah, the graphics are great. But the gameplay is where it's at for this game. Lot of puzzle solving, but it is a side-scrolling 2D/3D graphics puzzle solving. And some of the ways it works is by your main character Abe, manipulating other NPCs in the game to basically get away. A brief lore of the game: Abe is in this factory and he's trying to escape. He's trying to get his friends. He's trying to get his race to escape with him. That's a very short summary of the game.
Yep.
So Abe can walk onto a screen and he can see one of his friends that's doing something. He can talk to them and give them directions, tell them to move left, move right, stay where they are, whatever. And he will try to guide them to, if there's an exit on that screen, or if he has to traverse 2, 3, 4, 7 screens, whatever, to an exit. He's trying to herd basically all these people to the exit.
Yep.
There are multiple endings, so you try to get everybody you can. And I mean, in general, you don't want anybody to die. So, you can also take control of enemies. You can take control of NPC type monsters in the game, and you can use them to solve puzzles as well. That's basically the gist of how this game works. You do get power-ups, so to speak, over time. Your abilities increase and stuff like that. It's very unique, man. And
yeah,
like I said, it took me by surprise. I don't even know if, honestly, Chris, I don't know if I borrowed this from somebody on a whim, or if something caught my attention and I said, yeah, I'll try it out, or somebody suggested it to me. But what I do know is I didn't know what I was expecting when I played it, and then I played it and was very interested. I've made it all the way through this game at least twice, and it's fun, man. It goes. It's got legs, definitely.
Yeah. Oddworld in particular, the main reason I threw this on the list was it was one I talked about when we did the year in review. We both talked about it, but when looking at the game of the year, contenders, I felt like it deserved to be on here because it's a very unique way to do a platformer. It stands out from others. Like looking at, really the big notable platformer around this time frame is Mega Man games. That's a pretty, if you will, typical type of platforming. You just jump here to there, deal with the enemies however you deal with them. But you kind of have this general type of platforming, jump, 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 etc. Oddworld, you jump in it, but that's actually a small part of it. You're often running, walking, crawl. Can you crawl? You can roll, rolling.
I think yeah.
Rolling, etc. But the big thing is how you're interacting with everything else on the screen. Enemies, friendlies, switches, levers, etc. Items laying around, grenades, etc. There are all these things you have to be aware of, and that is your focus. Instead of just jumping through a level to get to the end, to get to the boss, etc. You're exploring this world, if you will, and trying to maybe depending on how you play the game, get your friends out as well. The game is very good, and I went through and I 100% the New and Tasty, the remake. That's why I was looking at it early as how I knew it was 2015, because I was like, did I 100% it? Yes, I did. I rescued every single friendly, and I also got the achievement for killing every single friendly that you could. So I've done both parts of it. But I had fun the whole time. That's one of the reasons I 100% it. And the remake is pretty much the original game. It's more of a remaster than a remake. I don't know what they actually changed, if anything.
And that's fine. That's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah. So I thought for its what it brought to the platforming world in its own unique way, deserved it going on today's list. Yeah.
It's just unfortunate, and we're probably going to say this several times. It's unfortunate that Final Fantasy VII got picked out first, but going up against Final Fantasy VII, admittedly, I did have lots of fun with Oddworld and will continue to have fun with it. But yeah, sorry, can't. So definitely Final Fantasy VII is the winner on that one. You know what, Chris? In the spirit of that,
okay,
I was gonna randomize, but let me go ahead and pick another one and get it out the way because I know it's coming. I'm gonna pick old Mega Man X4 here.
Okay.
I put this on here. I felt like I had to because there are several years where I could just be a me and just put Mega Man's on the list for Game of the Year. I feel that that's something that people would think would be automatic with me, and I could do it as a joke or a lark, but I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I put games on here that I realistically think are Game of the Year contenders, and I would say for me, this is a personal one. For me, this is a personal one, me putting X4 on this list because Mega Man...
Can we have a quick sidebar?
Sure.
At this point in time, and I think 1997 is a great example, perhaps we should consider doing categories, maybe in addition to Game of the Year, kind of like platformer, or RPG. Maybe we should look into adding some subcategories once we get to these. This year wasn't really as long of a list. It's pretty typical, but we both know we're gonna get in some pretty long lists in some years. So maybe it would be fair to give some of them, what they deserve.
We'd have to change it and be Games of the Year.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll discuss it. We'll discuss it. I'm leaning toward it, yeah, though. So, Mega Man X4, also another reason why I put this on the list is that Mega Man 4 is my favorite Mega Man game of all time. And right underneath that, directly underneath that, for Mega Man games is Mega Man X4. This game, and I don't even know why this was brought up. Me and Adam talked about this game for maybe 5 minutes sometime this week, and I brought up the point again that I don't understand. No, let me rephrase that. That's being petty. I do understand. I do not, flat out, I do not agree with anyone. Yes, even you, audience. The people that just blow this game off and ignore it and laugh as they're walking down the street away from Mega Man X4. And the only reason why is because of the bad voice acting in this game. That kills me. I get it. I get that there are some scenes in this game where the voice acting is laugh-worthy. Yes, I do. Yes, I have heard countless times because I've played this game countless times, but I've also heard people make jokes about it and meme about it. What am I fighting for? Yes, I know it's bad. I get it. But it kills a little piece of me that people blow this game completely out. They don't even care about it because of that. People will swoop in and they'll go, "What's this about?" And they show them that and they go, "Ha, that's bad," and leave. This is, and I'm going to, as I'm saying this, I'm pointing a knife at Mega Man X3. This is the first game that you can play as Mega Man X and Zero, and X3 goes, wait, and I'm saying no. This is the first game where you can play the entire game completely.
Right.
Let me take you back just a little bit with this Mega Man X history. You play Mega Man X1, you play as only Mega Man X, but you get to see Zero being a badass through anytime you see him. The design idea is, hey, Mega Man, you're not my level, but you can get there. You can, and you do. You get upgrades and power-ups and life-ups and all this stuff, and you become powerful. You're on your own right. Mega Man X2 comes along. Zero's still in the picture, still being a badass. He's getting fucked up, but he's still a badass. And at some point, you are wanting to, this is the point where you're wanting to play as Zero. You're like, wait a minute, I'm seeing this again. But he's jumping and doing things like Mega Man. I want to play as him. Now you get to Mega Man X3. And what sold me, what blew my mind as a kid, I would murder somebody to play Mega Man X3 back in my high school years, is that I was told you could play as Zero. I mean, that drove me insane. I was like, this is the game. This is it. And I didn't get to then. It was years later in my life. And I found that it was, and forgive me on the details, I've only played through X3 maybe 3 times in my life or 4. There's like a stipulation to it. Like you can only play as Zero through the level, but when you get to the boss, he goes away. And or you can only you basically summon him, and you can only summon him once a level, and if he dies, you can never summon him again. Or it's a whole bunch of rules to play as Zero, but you can't play him through the totality of the game. X4 comes along and says, which one do you want to play the game as, Mega Man X or Zero? And I will admit, in my lifetime, if I played X4 40 times, I probably played as Mega Man probably 4, 5. I always pick Zero. Furthermore, I always put that code in to play as the Black Armor Zero. That in and of itself was enough for this game to just fly up the list for me. You have 2 separate characters you can play as, so all bosses, they all have the weakness thing going on for both characters. Great music design for the PlayStation. I mean, you're up a generation of consoles, so the music got better, the graphics got better. I mean, look at X through X3 already look good. already, and you can see the graphical progression from X1 to X2. You can see a little tiny bit of upgrade from X2 to X3. X3 to X4, you're now in PlayStation territory. So the sprite graphics got even better. And just the idea of playing as Zero through the entire game. Gets his own story. Gets his own, he is tied into the story, but in his own way. Gets his own ending. And I love it, man. I think that game is crafted so well. If I had to put a flaw, I mean, I could probably find a flaw for a lot of these games, but if I could, I could pick a bitch flaw and say, well, the game gets stupid fucking hard at the very end. But I mean, it's a Mega Man game. They all do that. It happens. You do have to throw your controller a few times to beat most Mega Man games, but I feel like it's forgiving enough in this game for you to have enjoyment. And yeah, wow, the game is great. I can't. There's not much I can say bad about this game. There's even a stage that people can't stand, and I feel you. I'm not a big fan of it either. But there's like a jet bike kind of stage, a jet stingray stage. The first half, if not the whole one at all. I mean, you're on a like a speeder bike, and you have to jump to evade, walls and shit. Not exactly the most fun or original level, but the music's fine, and it's still fine for me. I'm cool with that. You do fight somebody. There's a little nod from Capcom, which I don't know if anybody knows this, but Capcom made Mega Man games back in the day, so there is a character that gets a nod to Street Fighter in here. His name is Magma Dragoon. And I mean, I think that boss alone kind of makes up for a lot of bad designs in Mega Man, period, because he plays like Ryu. He throws a Hadouken. He does it's cool. It's cool. I could gush long enough. I've done this long enough, and I could gush for hours on Mega Man, period. But yeah, I was, whether or not I played this in this year, this game came out in this year, and I was so happy. I felt like Mega Man was fucking on a rocket ship, just flying through greatness. Until I played X5 and X6, but that's a different story for a different time. X4, in and of itself, in 97, fucking outstanding Mega Man game. I would recommend that as a starting point for people, if not Mega Man X1. Where do I feel it goes? I would definitely put X4 above Abe's Odyssey. I mean, I've played Abe's Odyssey 2 or 3 times in my life. I played X4. I don't even know. I lost count. 7, yeah, I can't. I just can't. 7 is just sitting there like, fucking move me. I want you to try. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I've never played X4. I have seen it played, so it's a little hard for me to gauge. Since it's not a real contender going on top anyway, I'll allow it. I won't fight it, in an Oddworld, which order they're going to be in.
Yeah. And again, even for me, even if you did, I mean, the fact that X4 is contendable. I mean, it's our show; we can contend whatever we want. But I felt that was worthy enough to be on this for me. Your show.
Yeah, I'm fine with it being above Oddworld.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant next game.
Oh, okay. Let's see. We want to... Okay. Star Fox 64.
Oh, boy. Ooh, man. What a game. So, yeah, Star Fox 64. This is... okay, again, I realize this is, don't compare this to every other game and stay in your year, stay in your lane. I get it, but I'm going to tell you right now. And please, audience, if you contest this, that's fine. Hey, everybody has your own opinion. We love you for having your opinion. Awesome. But ask the majority of the entirety of the Star Fox audience, of the Star Fox fans. Hey, what's the best Star Fox 64? Just period. Star Fox 1 was great. It was the initial. Star Fox 2, hell, a lot of people didn't even get to play that till the SNES Classic was released. Star Fox, what are the other ones, Chris? Assault, Zero, I guess, which was kind of a remake-ish of 64, so on and so forth. There's Star Fox Adventures. Yeah, Star Fox 64 is the epitome. And I will say that even today, if you want to know, hey, what is Star Fox? What is that like? I'm going to point you to a 64, and I'm hearing beeping in my head. Is that you?
No.
You don't hear beeping either? Oh, no.
Nope.
That's odd. Okay.
Is your headset dying?
I hope not. Jesus. So yeah, Star Fox 64 is the Star Fox. It is what people mentally go to for many reasons, and it is one that I do as well. And it's because of how good it's made. It's because of what it. Now, again, we're trying to keep these games in their year. Okay, so if you look at this game today, there's lots of graphical flaws. It was on the Nintendo 64. I give you that. It's all that. But taking in the year it was made, it's phenomenal. So it took the formula of Star Fox and expounded upon it. So the graphics are as compared to the Super Nintendo, they're better. Your R-Wing itself has more design to it. The characters, they actually have voice acting now, which again, that fits for Super Nintendo. That's a unique, charming thing for it. But now there's voice acting in it, and they do a decent job. Not the greatest, not the worst though. Branching paths, like legitimate branching paths. I think there was a couple places you could go in the original Star Fox, but I think they were like secret exits or whatever. This is like, okay, you could end a level one way and you can go down one path, or you can end a level another way and that will divert the path and you go to potentially another planet. Basically, there are multiple paths with varying difficulties throughout that entire game. I forget how many planets there are total. There's like, I don't know, 18, 20, something like that. And just depending on what objectives you do or don't meet, will change the path you take. The levels are, again, graphically dated. Yes, I'll give you that, but they try to be unique. There's like a toxic level you fly through. There's a lava level you fly through. Of course, there are a multitude of space levels. There are different flying modes now. So you have the straight flying forward, which still in and of itself is fun. You can roll, aileron roll left or right. You can do an aileron roll is what they call a barrel roll. I think Peppy he doesn't call the right thing when he tells you to do a barrel roll. That's actually an aileron roll. But either way, there are multiple things you can do in the R-Wing to manipulate yourself in the environment. And there are power-ups to gain, there are bombs to throw out, bosses to kill with weaknesses, all that stuff. I forget what path I was going down in my statement before I said that. So there are other characters in the game. The OG Star Fox team is there. You also have a couple extra characters here and there in different levels. Oh, that's what it was, the different flying modes. So you do have the straightforward flying mode, but they also have an all-range mode where basically it's a giant arena style setting, and you either have to go fly and basically do dog fighting with other fighters, or there's a giant ship and you have to fly and take it out, or there are missiles flying at your main base and you got to destroy them before it destroys your base. Just all kind of goodies. There are also multiple vehicles in this one. So you have the typical R-Wing. You have a Landmaster, which is you drive on the land, and you have a tank. Or you have the submarine, the blue. Oh Lord, I gotta look that up. God, I'm so sorry, Slippy. That's your favorite thing. Oh no, Star Fox 60, the Blue Marine. I want to say it was a Blue Marine before I typed this in. But yeah, so there's a level. I think the Blue Marine. Thank you, Google, for confirming that for me. I think there's only one level that the Blue Marine is actually used in, but either way, it still just shows variety. So 90-ish% of the time that I played Star Fox, it was single player with everything I just said. There is a multiplayer aspect to it, which I didn't have a lot of multiplayer experience back in the day. See previous episodes to find out why. But I was fortunate to have some neighbors of my grandmother's that would come over and play Star Fox 64 multiplayer. It was fun. There's limited levels and limited things you can do. So, which, I mean, that's not saying much. Mario Kart 64 had compared to today, had limited stuff too. But in any event, all around, as a package, Star Fox 64, awesome. Great stuff. Holds up for me because I'm not stuck up ish. I mean, I can go back and play old shit. And mostly Nintendo's games age fairly well. Their core franchises age fairly well. Mm-hmm. This is one of them. Side note, there is Star Fox Zero today, which was basically a remake on the Nintendo Wii U. I own it. I have not played it yet. I have heard a lot of people trash it because they forced the Wii U remote as a control thing, and it does not work that well. That's sad. That's not what I want. Much like most of the other Sonic games that have came out. I mean, Star Fox games that have come out are not games that I want. I don't want an adventure game. I don't want a game where sometimes you're in an R-Wing and sometimes you're on the ground. We all just want a game like Star Fox 64, which give me a controller in my hand and let me fly the R-Wing. Let me have the land mat. Let me have all that stuff. We're waiting for that. We haven't got it yet. Chris, any experience with you for Star Fox 64?
So I have very little experience with the game. I've talked about this before. I didn't have a 64 until essentially I was an adult and went and bought my own. But I played at friends' houses, but I don't remember ever playing the multiplayer. We basically just sat around and played the single player. And I remember nothing from it. I think it was one of those things where we'd play a little bit and then start over. So I don't know that I ever saw the whole game through.
I think multiplayer would be pretty awesome in this game. It'd be kind of rough to deal with because most of the levels were scripted. You know, like if Slippy came in to help you, he was doing a specific flying pattern and so on and so forth. But it could be interesting. You could try to make it work. And I didn't play multiplayer a ton. It just so happens this is one of those rare games where I had the company and the ability to. And I mean it's just dogfighting and R-Wings, so good stuff. Where I would put it would definitely I would put Star Fox 64 above Oddworld. Would I put Star Fox 64 above Mega Man X4? That's a toughie. And not just because Mega Man is my thing. It's also because, again, both of these games offer fun. In their own sets, they are great. I mean, Mega Man X4 does not have a multiplayer at all, and even though Star Fox 64's wasn't like the talk of the town multiplayer, it was still a decent multiplayer. Both of them have replay value, especially with Star Fox 64 having multiple branching paths, a variety of endings too. Some secret hidden endings too. I mean, there's all kind of extra stuff and extra goodies in this game. There's a mode you can unlock where instead of the multiplayer, instead of fighting in R-Wings, you're on the ground with rocket launchers. Never played that version, but that's something you can unlock and do. There's a way, if you beat the game a certain way, you start the game over and you're flying with sunglasses on, which if you get to a certain ending, that's because your father had sunglasses on and you're like taking his following in his footsteps, so to speak. Got a lot of good charm to it, honestly, for a game about Star Fox. It actually's got some good stuff in it. Mega Man X4, I mean, you got the secret costume, you got the unlockable costume, and you've got the extra armor that you can unlock at the beginning of the game. You have upgrades and collectibles for Mega Man and for Zero. Both do have replay value, I will say that. Oh, man. That's actually very tough. If I was on an island, nope, can't do that either. If I had both of these in front of me right now, right this minute, I don't know if that works either. Chris, I need help here.
All right.
I need help.
Okay. Let me think about this. So, 2 games. One I haven't played and one I played a little bit of. Let's see. Flying, shooting game, platformer. This is actually really close. I didn't think about that when I selected it.
I mean, even when you talk about just the fun, to me, I realize you haven't played X4, but to me, they're both fun.
I would say perhaps if I had both of them in front of me, I would play Star Fox. But that's because I don't have, the experience with either of them to, really say it's because of comparison. Yeah. That's just surface level comparison.
Just go ahead and mark that, Chris. I can't do it. You have to do it.
Mark it how? Above?
Put Star Fox above it, yeah.
Okay. I did it.
I'm fine with that. I mean, again, at the end of the day, if imagine if Chris and I both were judging or grading this game. If he watched me play all the way through Mega Man X and then watched me play all through Star Fox, it's like it's over now. Well, no, we could always go play multiplayer. The lighthearted charm, I guess. I mean, do not, audience, take this as, oh, you picked the better voice acting, didn't you? Because that's not it. That wasn't not a ruling factor here. Damn it.
Well, we can move on. Let's.
Yeah,
it's
tough, but it's done. I'm okay. If a game that would beat out Mega Man X4, Star Fox 64, okay, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Final Fantasy Tactics. Here we go. Bam.
Okay.
Bam. While I calm my nerves, Chris.
Okay.
Gush a little bit.
So Final Fantasy Tactics, it's another one of those kind of out of nowhere games, because I played 7, So I was like, okay, RPG, and sure, tactics is in the name, but I'm a kid. I don't know what tactics games are at that point. I don't think, from name, I think there may have been a couple that actually had tactics in the name, but overall, it's just kind of a style. You didn't really have the name to go by. So I picked it up, and it's like, what is this? This isn't Final Fantasy VII. This isn't a, standard RPG where, I mean, there's an RPG element to it, but this is tile-based combat. What is this? But tons of fun. The job system in it, it's like, okay, this is, and I didn't know at the time, but, it's a throwback to the other games that with all the jobs and your varying degrees of customization, depending on, of course, which previous Final Fantasy you're looking at. And then being able to mix and match and take the abilities from other jobs, kind of like I was talking about with 14. It really, tactics is my first experience with that. I don't know how much previous Final Fantasies let you do that, but yeah, I mean, the gameplay itself was new to me and was interesting and lots of fun. I spent a lot of time playing it. A lot. Because it's one that's, well, okay, I want to get 99 and everything. I never did it. But I would spend a lot of time, just be like, all right, I'm just going to sit here and play the game and watch these numbers go up. Not glitching the game, just doing it the very boring and slow way. Because I just wanted to do that. Because I just wanted to set a goal for myself in the game because I beat it. So why not, story-wise, also kind of, catches you off guard because it's okay, well, this is a side game. This isn't a main Final Fantasy title, This is just a side game. So it's going to be, probably a lesser quality story, etc. But not so. It actually had a good story that made sense, and I don't even know what else to say about it. It was just a good story, a solid overall game.
Well, in general, we don't have to say a whole lot more about it, period. Like I said, this is all of a lot of this is going to be rehash of stuff we've already said. And also, we've talked about Final Fantasy Tactics in other episodes as well. So, audience, if you haven't heard, find some tactics talk in our previous episode. I will add as well for the story. I love the story and I love the way it's told. This and Final Fantasy 12 to me have like an equal storytelling, I guess you'd say, method. The way they talk, the way the story is presented to you with that yay old English speak. I love it. Such a fan of it. So yeah, on to the question at hand. Do we think Final Fantasy Tactics is better or worse than Abe's Odyssey?
Better.
I mean, yeah, better, of course. Mega Man X4. Again, if it's gonna lose to something, it loses to Tactics. Okay. I think I could debate that. I could discuss that, but nah, I'll let it slide. Tactics better than Star Fox 64.
For me, yeah.
I have. Oh man, I have played 64 way more than I have Tactics, but Tactics of itself, and again, speaking of Game of the Year, what beats the two? Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. I'll concede to that. Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics can go above 64. Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy 7. Here we go. 7. It's 7. I'm sorry. I mean, honestly, Chris, we're really baiting the fucking audience right now. We're trying to put a game above 7. I think we need to stop doing that and just fucking let's stop rehashing. We're not here for minutes. We're not trying to bait anybody. Let's just fucking run through this list like we know it's going to be. I'll blame myself for letting myself pick 7 first, but it's coming. I mean, we knew it was, folks, you knew it was coming if you heard the year in review. Monster Rancher, sure, why not? Let's put that bad boy out here. Monster Rancher is a good game. It is a good series and a good concept, period. The idea, very simple. Think of Pokemon. Think of having pets and animals and wanting to raise them. The way that you acquire animals in Pokemon, you go out in the world and you fucking throw a ball at them, you capture them. The way you acquire monsters in Monster Rancher, the general idea is that you open your PlayStation and you, when prompted, and you put a random disc in there. And depending on what game depending on what disc you put in there, you will receive a random monster with random stats. And you can then use them to raise them and fight them. You can use them to mate with other ones and have new monsters come out. You can, it's fun and unique. And the best replay of this is that you never know what you're gonna get depending on what disc you put in. You know, you go to your friend's freaking CD collection and you get that fucking Limp Bizkit album and you throw that in there and you get a fucking, fairy thing, and you go to your uncle's disc collection and you get his Queen's Greatest Hits Volume 2 and you get some fucking Gollum monster. I mean, it was legitimately unique to do that. It was fun to do that. But the question on the table is, does it beat out Oddworld Abe's Odyssey? I gotta tell you, Chris, that's actually pretty close.
For me, I would definitely put Monster Rancher above it.
I can agree to that.
Yeah. I put in a ton of time on Monster Rancher. My parents were the type that had like the 200 music CD collection. I went through every single disc they had for this game, wrote them down, and knew what I was, doing when it came to that. And anytime I got a new thing.
I don't know how many friends that I put through this. It may have been like 2 total if I took a time machine and traveled back in time, but I definitely remember bugging like schoolmates and friends for their CD collection. I'm like, no, I need all of it. Can you just give me your binder? I'll bring it back in a few days. But yeah.
And no game, I don't think any game has done this since. Maybe Monster Rancher sequels. I don't even know how they work. I'm assuming they have the same gimmick. But I didn't know there were sequels until a couple of years ago, so I've never played them. But I'll go back and play the original. I actually loaded it up on emulator, and think about that. I have any game I can download at my fingertips now, or any ISO essentially. I can load up on the emulator and see what it gives me. That is just mind blowing. The replayability, the time you can spend on it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Here's where the buck stops with me.
Okay.
I would not put Monster Rancher above Mega Man X4. All this gushing aside, legitimately battling these two side by side, the concept of Monster Rancher was great. The concept of playing as as Zero far outweighs it for me. Furthermore, it's so hard to say it that way because it sounds like you're using years as a rule out. But I continuously played X4 again and again and again. Yes, I did play Monster Rancher for a long period of time. Again, if we took a time machine and went back to that time frame, maybe it was like 4, 5, 6 months almost straight. But once the concept kind of wore out to me, once I had felt I had seen a lot of monsters and even dug into like guides and got rarer monsters, it kind of got stale. It kind of got old. I've never went back to it. Again, this is not saying it's a bad game. It's not saying I did not have that fun, but I have had that fun and continue to have fun with X4. So
I can understand that, because if you look at it beyond the actual breeding of the monsters and the disc aspect,
not that much.
The purpose of it is to basically get to S rank in this tournament thing,
Mm-hmm.
And that is very repetitive. Enemies, I believe, are identical every time, so it's not like there's any randomizing to it. I think the results of fights, because the enemies do fight against each other, so tournament bracket, I do think sometimes that will be different. So you won't always have the same, enemies throughout. You typically have the same, final match. The final opponent is usually going to be the same because it's probably something that's way stronger than the others. That's kind of to be expected. So I can understand the slightly more limited gameplay beyond the actual monster breeding.
Yeah. For what it is, for the pace that it's going for, it's good. But again, just for me, once I had my time with it, I was like, okay, I'm done with that. So, it lies on you. Would you allow it above or below, or what do you think? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this. I will not put it above Star Fox 64. I can't do that. I really don't want it to be above X4, but you did say that you've booted it up, recently. That says a lot. But I have booted up X4 over time. And so the replay for both of us is subjective. It's unfair for me to say my game is replayable, but that one isn't, when you say yours is, but you haven't played mine. It's just unfair. Let's look in the year of 1997.
Sure.
What do you think stood out more? What do you think had more of a wow, more of an impression on gaming as a whole?
I will be okay with Monster Rancher sitting below X4, especially for 97. Mega Man is Mega Man, and the X games in particular were for me, as someone that didn't dive in like you have to them, the X games did seem to iterate enough to not just be another Mega Man each time, Yeah. So I think that's fair.
All right. I, of course, am good with this. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Chris, is better than Star Fox 64, and here's why. So let's go ahead and just throw that up there.
Okay.
So better than Oddworld Abe's Odyssey for the sheer scale of what they were going for. Better than Monster Rancher because there is a large variety of enemies and monsters and places to go and see. I'd say the monsters and the enemies in Symphony of the Night have more of character than the ones from Monster Rancher. You got an entire weapon system. You have a familiars system. You have all these items you can collect and currency you can buy. You can level up. The music is fucking phenomenal. So yeah, just gonna say that it's better than Monster Rancher. Mega Man X4, side-scrolling action in X4, awesome. Way more side-scrolling action in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. There's just more volume of a game there, and there's a little bit of backtracking in X games. Period. I'll give you that, but when people think Castlevania. Metroidvania, arguably this is the Vania game that they think of. and well warranted. You know, travel all around this map to find things to unlock other areas, to find more weapons, to go back and unlock other items, and etc. etc. Yes, I would put Symphony of the Night above Mega Man X4. So sorry, I love you, sweetie. Star Fox 64. Okay, here's where the fight really starts. Star Fox 64 has branching paths. Castlevania is almost entirely branching paths, if in concept. You know, because you're trying to figure out where to go and you don't know where to go, so you have to explore to figure it out. The exploration, there is exploration in Star Fox 64, yes, because there are multiple exits and there are multiple paths to take, but almost the entirety of Castlevania Symphony of the Night is exploration. It's the heart of what the Metroidvania gameplay is about. Multiple endings in Star Fox 64. Sure, there are multiple endings in Symphony of the Night. Graphics, kind of hard to compare them that way because you got a 64 system versus a 32-bit system. But I do feel, I mean, I don't know, Chris. I don't even think that's correct to say. I was gonna say I do feel that Symphony of the Night's graphics do fit better. I feel like given what they had with the 32-bit system, it fits that game better. But honestly, I mean, with a couple levels aside, 64 is not an ugly game. You know, it's not garbage. It's just they did what they could with their limitations.
Yeah,
I think there's just more to look at with what Symphony of the Night gave you. I mean, there's so many varieties of areas to check out. Sure, there's no multiplayer in Symphony of the Night, but who cares? Yeah, I feel that Symphony of the Night goes above 64.
Okay.
Would you agree? You think that sounds good?
I have not played it. I feel like I've had my hands on it, but I can't say that for certain. So it's hard for me to judge, but just what I know about the game and what I've seen of the game, I think that's fair.
But you have played Symphony of the Night.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Star Fox. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, man.
No, Star Fox I know I've had hands on.
Yeah. Well, Chris, your challenge for this year is go fucking play Castlevania Symphony of the Night, man.
It's on my list.
Man. I feel you. I sympathize. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, better or worse than Final Fantasy Tactics? Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, so the anchor for me, you know, battle system, graphics, music, all that aside, the top of the list for me for Tactics is the story. The story and the way the story was told. Underneath that, hate me if you want to, I don't care, is the music. Under that is the battle mechanics. Stacking those against each other, story to Symphony of the Night, it's there, but does not hold a candle to Tactics. I like the idea of you playing as Alucard. I like the idea of the other NPCs you come across, and even the way they talk, even with them being, again, I get it, bad voice acting that has grown on people over time to be a meme and a charm at the same time. But no, story can't hold a candle. Music, oh boy. I defer this, Chris, to anyone else but us. I am not about to have a fight between the music of Final Fantasy Tactics versus Symphony of the Night. I refuse. If anybody wants to call me out on our podcast and say do it anyway, I will. I'm not gonna like it. But fuck no, because the music in Final Fantasy Tactics is some of, probably, if not the best music in Final Fantasy, period. And Symphony of the Night, find me a bad track in Symphony of the Night that's not composed well and does not fit the mood of the area you're in. Symphony of the Night music is fucking phenomenal. So they will hit each other, they'll clash swords, and then they'll fucking back off each other. That's the way the music works.
That's such a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Combat, man, we're talking two different styles of combat here. You know, you got tactics RPG combat, and you got side-scrolling action slash 'em up combat. Now I know that tactics, and yes, I'm sorry, I'm eating podcast audience. I'm so bad. I know. I know that tactics combat can be broken. That battle system can be broken wide open.
Yeah.
I forget what the combination is, even though I just played this last year or year before, but I think it's monk and something else. I mean, you can use this and just basically bitch whip the entire game. You can kind of break the system in Symphony of the Night because there is a leveling system. So at the bare basic minimum, you can level yourself up until you whip the game. But I don't know. I feel that's just really unfair. I think the depth, yeah, it's got to be tactics on that end, Chris. I mean, the depth of what you can do as far as character development and combat development in tactics outweighs Symphony of the Night. At the end of the day, Symphony of the Night is get a better weapon / more. You know, there are weapons that have different abilities. You can have weapons that, like, when you slash out, the slash will be longer or shorter, or sometimes you can slash out and like an attack will go out in front of your blade. Yeah, but we're talking multiple jobs, multiple classes, and tactics, as well as having a party of people. So,
yeah.
Man.
From my side, just since I don't know story-wise how Symphony of the Night goes, just looking at mechanics, I would put the tactics mechanics above alone.
Yeah. And again, okay, so it's on the list. Symphony of the Night is below tactics. Tactics is above it. I'll tell you this again. This isn't like a deciding factor, but I just want you and the audience to know. I played Symphony of the Night is on my wall. It is on my top 15 video games of all time personal wall. I have played through Symphony. I have 100% of that game. I feel like I change my number every time, but it's gotta be close to 5, anywhere from 5 to 8 times. But I've played through Symphony of the Night, period. Just blissfully went through the game, whether I 200 and whatever percented it or not, like 5-10 times. Tactics, I think in my life I've played about 5. And honestly, Tactics has some roadblocks. I mean, there are some difficult battles in there that will make you leave that fucking arena and reconfigure everything. I mean, you have to like go in with a certain set, so to speak, unless you break the game or unless you have overpowered whatever. But
right,
yeah, I have played Symphony of the Night way more than I played Tactics, but Tactics cannot be denied. It is such a good game.
Yep.
Let's throw this one out here and get this one done too. Tales of Destiny. I'm playing through that right now. Chris has played through it and beat it as well. The fact that it's an RPG. Okay, I'll tell you this. This is a legitimate fight, Chris, between Tales of Destiny and Abe's Odyssey, because both of them have unique charm.
Sure.
Okay. The difference is Abe's Odyssey is like nothing but individual charm. Like the characters, Abe himself, the enemies that you fight against, the NPC type enemies or animals in the world that you can take over. Those are unique. The terrain, just having like the traps, the bombs that float across the screen. It's just so much stuff in this game is just oozes unique. Tales of Destiny, kind of bare bones when it comes to RPG. Well, no, let me back that train up. It's more like it has a lot of things that you typically expect from an RPG. You know, you have inns and weapon shops, and you have quirky, plucky characters. You have, I guess, aside from, because I mean, the battle system's is fairly unique. The story is its own story. I don't know, man.
So the RPG lover in me, and having played both these games, I would personally probably put Tales above Oddworld. Mainly for the fact that it's not, Oddworld isn't a story heavy game. It's more of a, mechanic focused game. And give me a story, Well, I love RPGs.
I'm going to contest this.
Okay.
Because I was thinking just now, what had a bigger impact on the year 1997? What stuck out to you more in 1997? Tales of Destiny or Oddworld? Oddworld did, man. Advertising has a bit to play in that, so I feel I don't want to cheat and just act like it was just because of the ads, but I mean, people around me were talking about Abe. Not many people were. I think the only reason why I knew about Tales of Destiny was because of you, solely you. As far as 1997 is concerned, I mean, I can just think of games that we talked about and reviewed, and Tales of Destiny would come up eventually. I think Abe comes pretty fast. Yeah, just got to give me more of why you think Tales needs to go above it. Otherwise, I think we found our bottom.
All right. I will concede this because it's been a long time since I played, so I can't give you specific arguments at the moment. That's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, even me as playing it right now, granted, I haven't played Odd in probably 5-10 years, maybe, at playing Tales of Destiny right now. And again, please, audience, don't let this shit on the my week that I talked about this game earlier. It's still a good game. I would still recommend it. I mean, it's a contender for the game of the year. That alone isn't. All these games are worth playing. But I feel like it impact-wise, yeah, Abe was just like, wow, what is this? If I was to go back to 1997 and play this, I would look at Tales of Destiny and go, yeah, man, it's a good RPG. It's RPG. But Abe's World was like, wow, this is like a side-scrolling puzzle game with weird characters and you can control it. This is so unique. It's so different. And that would make me put it up there. All right, so we got a couple left just for the audience from the bottom up. We got Tales of Destiny, Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey, Monster Rancher, Mega Man X4, Star Fox 64, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Final Fantasy Tactics, and top of the heap so far is Final Fantasy VII. Let's go ahead and get because I know what I want the battle to be. Let's get the contender out of the way. Breath of Fire 3. Okay. Remind the audience, Chris, have you played Breath of Fire 3?
Yes, I played it, beat it, cheated myself a little bit because I used cheat codes, but yes, I beat it.
Yeah. So let me do the proper gush for it really quick. Breath of Fire 3, obviously the third in the Breath of Fire franchise. The Breath of Fire franchise had not disappointed up to this point, and it still did not. This was another bar setter. This was much like Mega Man X4, like a jump. So you had Breath of Fire 1 and 2 on the Super Nintendo. Breath of Fire 3 was on the PlayStation. Mm-hmm. Graphics shot through the roof. The sprite graphics in this game, from the characters in your party to the enemies on the screen, so awesome. So I love their detail. I love their attack animations, all that stuff. They chose to do the world itself in a 3D world, and while it's not the most superb, highly detailed 3D world, I think it all fit. Music, fuck yes. Love the music in this game. Love the story in this game. I love the characters. I love how charming the characters are. But just so many little mini quirks of this game too. Like there's a mini game where you have to chop wood with a sword. I mean, there's all sorts of little stuff like that. Some good emotional content to this story. Some good laugh out loud points. I mean, this was another kind of surprise for me. I'll tell you right now, I will definitely put this game as an RPG above Tales of Destiny, hands down.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair.
Just for how everything Breath of the Fire 3 brought to the table. It's such a good game. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, yep. Monster Rancher, yep. Mega Man X4, hey, sorry, X4, I love you. I do. And please, Chris, stop me if at a point you can test. But yeah, above Mega Man X4. Star Fox 64, hey, Chris, listen how quick this is. Yes, I would. Again, this is not shitting on these games that it's passing up. It's just Breath of Fire 3 for me is a phenomenal RPG. It's up there. This was one of the fighters from my personal top 15. That's how much I enjoy this game. It's just for multitude of reasons. It's such a good, well-designed, well-paced RPG. Symphony of the Night. I kind of want to say yeah, but I need to think on it for a second. Okay. I mean, Symphony of the Night was definitely impactful. It definitely was. It's got a lot of content. It's got a lot of goods to that game. But Breath of Fire 3, it's an RPG, yeah, and I don't know. Give me some thoughts, Chris. What do you think?
Hard for me to kind of judge this one.
Yeah,
since I haven't played one.
Okay.
I'm also having a hard time because, like I said, it's been a long time since I played it, and I also cheated my way through the game. So it didn't really stick with me that much. But
yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Breath of Fire 3, I'm gonna put you above Castlevania.
Okay.
While there's a lot of charm, and this is not the only winning thing, it's just something that just came to mind, but there's a lot of charm to Symphony of the Night. Yes, there is. There is almost every character in that game has charm and personality that just seem to outweigh Symphony of the Night. Content and time, hard to say. I mean, Castlevania Symphony of the Night has an entire level flipped over. There's not 100% game, there's 200-something%. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Breath of Fire 3 is an RPG. I mean, there's lots of story involved there. There's growth, there's character development, there's music. I would probably put the music in Symphony of the Night over Breath of Fire 3, but that's not that still would be a fight. That still would definitely be a fight. Man, oh man. Okay. If I had both in front of me right now, that old chestnut, can't say, Chris. I'd play both of them. Man, this is tough. This is actually very tough. I mean, there's one character you play as. Well, okay, you can play as Richter, and you can play as a couple characters in Symphony of the Night. But the general idea is you're playing an RPG. You have a party of people, and all those people in the party are part of the team and have their own system. Yeah, it is cool, Dante. I know. Shut up. I'm thinking right now, Dante. Man, a lot of tough ones tonight, man, honestly. I mean, 7's like, bruh, really? I was like, shut up, man. Shut up, 7, with your sitting on your ivory throne. Do I think Breath of Fire 3 wins out over Tactics? You know what, Chris? Here's what I'm going to do.
What's that?
Breath of Fire 3. I can't. I just can't, Chris. I want to put Breath of Fire 3 above Symphony of the Night because I want you to have to fight Breath of Fire 3 with Tactics. But I can't put the game above the other for that reason. I can't do that. I can't just blurt out that the game is better because I want a fight to happen. But if you were, Chris, what would you pick? Breath of Fire 3 or Tactics?
Tactics.
Then I will put Castlevania Symphony of the Night above Breath of Fire 3.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm doing it. That's what I'm doing. I just want it stated, okay? So people don't burn my house down. Breath of Fire 3 is such a good RPG. If we're talking about PlayStation RPGs that must play, which we may have, if we haven't done a PlayStation only RPG episode, Chris, maybe we will. But I know we've done an RPG episode, and I know I've gushed about Breath of Fire 3. I just want that out there. Breath of Fire 3 is a damn good RPG. I think all the Breath of Fires are good. Even 4. 4 is right underneath it, especially for the story. But 3 was just like, wow, everybody move out the way. What is this RPG? This is great. So, yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get the big boy fight out of the way. GoldenEye 007. Now let's play it fair. Let's play it real. Everybody out there knows about GoldenEye 007. I mean, come on, this is a Nintendo 64 game, first-person shooter. Arguably one of the first first-person shooters to really blow up first-person shooters into the limelight, much like Final Fantasy 7 boosted RPGs in the limelight. Great single-player campaign with multiple levels, multiple difficulties, with multiple objectives to get through. For the age that it came out, and the year it came out, 1997, it handled the controls with the 64 control. It handled first-person shooting with the Nintendo 64 controller as best it could. I think it did it for the age then, just fine. It did just fine. The multiplayer aspect is world-renowned. I mean, everybody knows and loves the multiplayer. They gush about it. Lost many months of time playing GoldenEye multiplayer, but I probably lost equal amount of time playing single player. No matter what way you play GoldenEye back in 1997, you were having a blast. Just out and out fun. So, I mean, unless you have anything else, Chris, you want to gush about 7, I think everyone knows, enough.
Yeah, this one's actually rough for me because I was a Perfect Dark person. I don't think I ever touched the single player in GoldenEye. Again, I didn't own a 64, so...
well, the good thing is you can almost mirror these two. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the multiplayer, in GoldenEye multiplayer, you couldn't set up bots. I'll give you that. And the multiplayer, and I think even the single player of GoldenEye, you didn't have multiple modes of weapons to fire. I think almost every weapon in Perfect Dark, you had 2 modes. Mm-hmm. So think Perfect Dark a little bit scaled down. That's all. That's what you got with GoldenEye.
Yeah. And it's also a little bit unfair to even compare the two because Perfect Dark, I looked up, was 3 years later. Wasn't until 2000. So, but you
can definitely mechanically look at the two and go, "Oh, I see the improvements."
Yeah, I for that reason, I don't have a huge personal attachment to 007. I'm not a big FPS person in general, even back then. So it's, yeah, I don't have...
Oh, it's on me. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about it, and we may fight.
Yeah. Okay. All right. GoldenEye 007 up against Tales of Destiny. Tales of Destiny is a good RPG from what I'm playing so far. Yeah, as a RPG, it's great. And it was great. I'm probably in 1997. GoldenEye just blew my mind. Too much fun, too much stuff to do, too much time to have in this game. I mean, I enjoyed GoldenEye back then more than I enjoyed Tales of Destiny when I played Tales of Destiny back then. So I put it above. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. Yeah, above. Just again, a lot of fun, a lot of stuff to do in Oddworld. Way more fun in GoldenEye. The Monster Rancher. Again, for me, Monster Rancher eventually got stale. GoldenEye has never gotten stale. Even today, when I play it with the shitty controls, I have to configure a controller to mimic current first-person shooter controls. Still fun. I would hands down go through and painfully go through a 007 agent mode in this game, then go back and play Monster Rancher right now just to see what Monster Disc is going to give me. Mega Man X4. Yes, above Mega Man X4. The novelty of playing X is great. The music, the graphics, the upgrades, all that's great. Again, GoldenEye just pushed everything else out of the way, especially with the multiplayer. Because even when I'm done playing the single player of X4, I can go play the multiplayer of GoldenEye. Star Fox 64. Oh yeah, because again, I happen to play these two around almost the same exact time. Mm-hmm. Sure, but I played the single player and multiplayer of GoldenEye far more. Breath of Fire 3. Yeah, sorry. Even on just sheer fun and entertainment alone, I had fun in Breath of Fire 3. I had entertainment in Breath of Fire 3. Double or triple that with GoldenEye. Just the package that GoldenEye gave me. Sure, the music in Breath of Fire 3 better. Yes, the graphics. Again, they both worked with what they had, but I feel that. There's too much wishy-washy in there, okay? In PlayStation, they chose to deal with sprite-based graphics, and they left the world to be rendered in 3D. And GoldenEye, they said, we've got to try our best to push this game to make the people look like people. And that's going to require us having, like, octagonal face shapes with, flat, yeah, sure. Graphics, Breath of Fire 3 wins out, sure. Now, single RPG story. Mm-hmm.
I like I said, I didn't play the GoldenEye campaign, but FPS campaign versus RPG.
Yeah.
And then multiplayer, sure, it's good, but how much of the replayability is gameplay and how much of it is because you're playing with friends, if that makes sense. Because you can play a game that isn't great, but if you're playing with friends, it's going to seem like the best thing ever because you're, having those moments and competing against each other. Yeah.
I'll tell you now, as I'm looking at it, you have to understand my predicament here. GoldenEye 007 and Castlevania Symphony of the Night are both on my wall right now. I'm looking at them. There they are. So, do I feel that Breath of Fire 3 is better or worse than GoldenEye 007? What do I feel is the better of those two? Man. Let's jump forward in time. Let's pretend I made a choice already. What would I pick better? Symphony of the Night or GoldenEye 007? Holy shit. Probably. God, man. Why do we do this podcast? It's so mean. All right, fuck that. We can't have that battle yet. We got the battle right here in front of us. Breath of Fire 3, GoldenEye 007. And see, here's the other thing, and this is the personal aspect of it, Chris. Mm-hmm. Both of these games impacted me this year when I played them. Well, or sorry, whatever year I played them. Imagine I played them both in 1997. Mm-hmm. When I did play these games, they were both like, wow, what? This is amazing. This is great. This is fun. This is something new. This is taking the genre up a little bit. It's taking the dial of an RPG and turning it from a 3 to a 5. But GoldenEye was turning a freaking dial of first-person shooters from a 5 to a 7. I mean, it's just cranking it up. It's adding more. Oh man!
If I had them both in front of me, I'd play Breath of Fire. Back when I played both in '97, I'd play Breath of Fire. I mean, unless I was with a group of friends and needed a multiplayer game, sure. But if I was by myself playing single player, oh yeah, I'd pick Breath of Fire every time. Even with having never played the game, so I'd pick Breath of Fire because RPG. Come on. Give me a rich story.
Yeah. You know what? I'm good with that. We've made that argument before, too. I mean, we are fond of RPGs. Mm-hmm. And if Breath of Fire, if GoldenEye is going to lose to something, I'm good with somebody's gonna make a list of all the things we say and all these little rules that we go by, and they're gonna start being like, y'all have no consistency. Like, I feel like we don't, but this is something else about this Game of the Year list, audience, is that we play this from the heart, honestly. Chris and I do not sit out like 3 days ahead of time and pull up all these game reviews and get stats and put, pixel counts up against each other and put composer in their hit. Well, that's not what this is about. This is Chris and I, the End of Time cast, saying, hey man, what do we feel is better and why? So if we get some shit inconsistently, that's sorry. We don't have a set of rules right now. Maybe we will in the future if we decide to start rolling into genres, but right now it's straight from the heart.
And a lot of times we don't have a choice. These are some hard fights.
Yes, they are. Definitely. Tonight had a few of them, honestly. I wasn't expecting them. And I say that a lot, but I really don't, because we both look at these lists ahead of time because we have to make our own, like, these are the nominees we pick, so we kind of know. But I never make that list, and then Chris makes it, and then I go behind him and just start debating it mentally. Like, I wonder what I'm going to say. It's this shit's raw. I come in here and it's out there.
Tell you, I put together my list this morning. I looked at what you picked, and I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then I went through the list, and I was like, what else needs to be on here? All right, now I'm going to go play 14. I did not think about it before or after that.
Yep.
But let's be real. We knew where Final Fantasy VII was going to be, so...
Yeah.
You could say the fights were even a moot point.
7, Tactics, Symphony, 3, GoldenEye. I mean, these are all like, wow. Yes. Mm-hmm. And again, we said this almost every one, but it bears repeating again. You could pick up any one of these games and they're good. But this is not the year in review. We've already done year in review. This is not, hey guys, I mean, you could think of it this way. You could think of it as a list of games that we recommend. But the heart, soul, and spirit of these episodes is the game of the year. What we collectively, the End of Time cast, pick is the best game of this year. And this year's list from the bottom up goes as follows: Tales of Destiny, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, Monster Rancher, Mega Man X4, Star Fox 64, GoldenEye 007, Breath of Fire 3, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, Final Fantasy Tactics, and at the top of the crown, at the top of the mountain with a big old crown on his head, Final Fantasy 7 is our pick, the End of Time cast pick for 1997 game of the year.
Surprise.
Yeah, well deserved. well deserved, honestly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We say that we know there are these years that the game's going to come out and waylay everything else, but I like the years where we have more debating as far as the top pick. I really do. But I mean, look at this. We still had to debate what goes underneath it. I mean, come on. What do y'all want? You want an episode where we know 7's the best? End of show. We could do that, but give some more light to the games that we think are nominees. Yeah, so that's it. What do you think, audience? What do you think of the Game of the Year winner? Is it also a duh for you? Are you excited about the Final Fantasy VII Remake in lieu of this choice right here? Do you think we are completely wrong and you think that GoldenEye 007 is the Game of the Year? Hey, again, audience, hey, calm down. It's great. Whatever opinion you have, we love the fact that you have your own opinion. We love subjectivity. And we want to hear about your subjectivity. We want to hear your opinion of why you think something's better or worse. What about the games you've been playing this week? What about anime you've checked out? What about anything in the gaming world news that came up and you were like, man, you guys, check this out? Anything you want to talk about with us. We love to hear feedback from you, and there are many ways to get that feedback to us. So you can go to Facebook and search for End of Time Cast, and you'll find our episodes there that we upload. You can leave a comment, you can leave us a message, and it may be you found this episode right here. We have an email address. You can email us at endoftimecast@gmail.com. That's endoftimecast@gmail.com. No funny numbers in there. Just spell it as you heard it. We have a Twitter page. You can tweet us. You can retweet us. Where all of our episodes get uploaded to YouTube, so you can find our videos there and leave comments on them as well. You should be able to just, in quotes, type in End of Timecast into Google, and you can find one of many ways that you can either listen to or download or comment on our episodes. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear feedback. We'd love to engage with our audience, and just imagine the discussion that Chris and I have on here. That's a discussion that we want to have with you. So, yeah, that's going to do it for tonight's episode. And until next time, I'm Michael.
And I'm Chris.
Good night, everybody.